good evening from the Oval Office. Cole Munson here in the Expat Man Cave. This would be a hell of a man cave, wouldn't it, behind me? And Frank in the Hat Cave tonight, I think. That's the order of the day, right? Or the order of the evening. Are we going to have a full-on Frank fashion show tonight from your hat collection?
Of course, of course. Well, it's just the hat thing happening today. I think you were supposed to wear a hat. Garvo was supposed to wear a hat, and you guys did not wear a hat today.
I think
Oh,
my hat is in the studio somewhere because I put it on the other night. I can see it. Yeah, I'll go and grab it in a minute. It's the only one I've got, as far as I'm aware. I didn't when I expatted. I didn't bring my hat collection with me. Not that I had one, I don't think, in the way that you obviously did. You brought your hats with you, or have you amassed a collection since being here in Portugal?
I've got a huge I've got a huge collection. I think I've got about like 25 to 30 hats, and they're all in Canada, and they all are in a very nice box, nicely put together, and they're supposed to be here with me soon, hopefully.
I would love to see the look on the customs guys' faces when they open that box. They're coming in from Canada into. They must see some sights, but presumably your sex toys will be in a different box to the hats.
No, they're like they keep the hats in a good shape, so they're all together. I make sure.
All right, there you go. You get the tone of the show tonight. This is the Expat Man Cave, where expat men of a certain age, as it turns out, gather together on a Friday night. It's like going down the pub at the end of the week to debrief the week and what a week it's been, have a bit of a chat, talk about other fellas. We have our Barcelo Awards as well, where we nominate the high flyers and the low achievers of the week in our view. We might talk about what we're drinking, although that hasn't been very big on the agenda, has it? And the other thing as well is to talk about the week you've had, and if you've had any interesting stories or turns of events. And this applies. This isn't just me and Frank and Garvo if he turns up talking to each other. This applies to you as well. If you're an expat here, what's your week been like? Funny things happen to expats. This is a new life, and you find yourself in lots of new life situations. Well, more difficultly if it's a lockdown, but ordinarily you would find yourself in new life situations and share those with us. I think that's really interesting. So what are you drinking and what have you been up to this week, Frank? How has your week been? Obviously dominated by news from your native North America.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting week, hasn't it been? Tuesday night I did not sleep at all. I stayed up the entire night because it just got very, very interesting. It's the American soap opera. There's nothing like it, the political soap opera. No one can tell me that they have not been watching CNN either at an airport, either anywhere. It's just America. It's just you can't. It's like a car crash. You don't want to watch it, but you want to watch it because it's so amazing.
The circus with two clowns.
So I basically on Wednesday I was slowly starting to give up on it, and I was like, you know what? No one's going to be like, this guy's going to take it again. And it would have been like, I'm kind of sad to one extent that my entertainment is being taken away. And on the other hand, I'm very happy for Americans because they've got at least half an adult jumping in to the White House. And I'll tell you one thing. The most poignant night was last night. Last night I was up and I was watching Donald Trump go into the White House. Yes, Eric, we will be. I watched, and Eric, right after this small little rant, we're done with this. But last night, up till now, it was very entertaining with this Trump guy. But last night, what I saw, it really took the cake. This guy really baffles me in every single way. So I'm glad that the world itself there's some sense coming into the world. I don't know. What do you think, Carl?
Well, as we close our coverage for the week on the election, well, we can't make that claim that we're not going to talk about it anymore. Because if as Eric says in the comment you've given us there, Eric, Benoit from North Carolina, where it's still gritty and bitty and bitter, isn't it? Glad a long week is finally over. For your information, Biden may claim victory at 8 p.m. tonight. Stay tuned. 270 not declared yet, but could be in the next couple of hours. So what we'll probably do then is, we can stop talking about it. I mean, it's difficult to, for sure. I have a, before we do that, I have one serious question for American, for anybody, but especially the Americans who should know something about this. But thank you for that, Eric. That's like, it's not a warning exactly, is it? But an understandable little interjection there. It can be talked about too much, can't it? And it's not over yet, so it's still going to be. It's not like we're going to miss an opportunity to talk about it, because this is going to run and run. Obviously, we also have an oi oi from somebody. Who's that? Do we think is that Will? Is that Paul? Is it Owen? Let us know who you are. Who's giving us the oi oi? Or it might be John Cunningham.
It's Captain Putrin.
Who?
Mr. Putrin from Ireland. What's his name?
Of course. Yes, Captain Pacino. Okay, yes, of course. Eugene.
Yeah,
Eugene. With his Japanese lady. Okay. Let's add Garvo to the screen. Oh, look at this.
Oh, Garvo!
J.R. Hartley is here.
Oh, that was quick and cruel, that was, sir.
Garvo, I'm very proud of you today. Watching you in this Dallas outfit makes me very proud.
Actually, it's a bit cold down here, so it's quite nice having a hat on.
Mm-hmm.
How are we, gents? How are we doing?
We're doing well. How about yourself? What's going on?
I'm very tired, Frank. I'm a bit worn out today. I'm feeling quite weary and fatigued. Fatigued is a good word.
Fatigue is a good word. Is it the elections hangover? Is it? Have you had a long week on CNN? Do you know McCatt County? Do you know all these counties in the United States now? Are you familiar with the geography?
Not really now. I'm still just none the wiser as I was before. I still don't realise why we've got to this point. We raced up to this point now where we're almost there, and now we're stopped. Is it just these few areas that all the electoral fraud has occurred in, or is it just something they don't want to admit defeat? What's the score, man?
It's the litigious fool in charge over there. It's the problem is that any time someone else starts winning, the lunatic starts throwing a temper tantrum. He starts throwing his toys out of the pram. That's what's going on.
Right. Okay.
All right. My serious question about the American election or the American Constitution in relation to politics there is who are the grown-ups? Who is it who makes the final or oversees the final decision and takes responsibility? So upholds the result, kind of underpins the result, and then puts it into practice. So in the UK, it's the Queen who does that, isn't it? It's her parliament. She can dissolve it if she wanted to. She can chop their heads off and all sorts of things if she wants to. And the Prime Minister has to go to her to say, Your Majesty, I want to create and start this government. And she gives the official go ahead on that. And obviously the Americans threw that system out 250 years ago or whenever, when they unceremoniously dumped us, which some may regret right now. So who is it? And I put this up on Facebook. Who decides who are the grown-ups, as it were? Who's the highest authority in America? Because if it is the president himself, we're in trouble, aren't we? Because he's not going to go gracefully. And I want to know, and nobody seems to be able to answer that question. People say, people give the cynical answer like, yeah, it's the corporations, or, it's the Illuminati, or it's David Icke and the Rothschilds or whatever, who's really in control. I don't mean that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about constitutionally, officially, who would go up to Donald Trump and say, look, we are the top authority in this country. This is the result as we see it. You can, of course, challenge it and appeal, but it's done. It's really done now. And a grown-up elder leadership voice, who or what performs that in America?
You see, the thing is, Carl, it's a very interesting question you ask, because he is the commander-in-chief. So if you're saying that the army is going to go in and take this guy out physically, will they, if the commander-in-chief is not giving the orders, whose order will they listen? Like who, I get what you're saying. It's according to their constitution, which has been put together. There's a lot of elaborate stuff in there, but a lot of stuff is also archaic. And no one, I think, in their constitution planned for Donald Trump. They planned what they basically planned for is some form of decorum. One of the worst presidents, Nixon, he displayed decorum right towards the end. The problem here is that this was not planned. Right now, giving up like the transition team, there is no transition team. What they're saying right now is that they did not plan to lose, so they did not have a transition team, the Trump administration.
Okay, so that would reflect or chime with the comment that, where was this one? It is the decency of the participants that makes sure it works well. That's why we're screwed, says that Facebook user. So the system in America relies on a sense of fair play and people knowing when to go, rather than it being constitutionally enforced. You think?
That's what I'm saying, Carl. It's, you know, the thing is, it's called being a good sport. You know, like if you've lost in a competition, then being a good sport in a very simple way is for you to be able to say, listen, I lost, you won, thank you very much, here's the trophy, you go ahead with this. The problem is that system is not in play when you're dealing with a person who's a complete and utter lunatic. This guy is going to, and the next 2 months, 2.5 months are going to be so very difficult for the United States, because this guy is going to burn the house down on his way out. He is very vindictive, man. This is not going to go down very easily. This is not good.
Oh dear. Okay. So yes, Steve, who will enforce it? That's just underlining my question there. After the electoral college votes, and one candidate receives 270 votes or more, that's it. That's how we understand it. But yeah, we're talking about who enforces it, who underwrites it effectively, who takes overall responsibility. And it's a grey area. Well, not a grey area, but it's a kind of a sense of fair play rather than an authoritarian position that you think there, Frank. Okay, electoral college will place their votes, at which time it will become official. Second week in December, thinks Eric, who did urge us to get off this subject ASAP. So we will try and do that. It is the decency of the participants. We've done that well. And Frank is absolutely correct. So there you go, Frank. Does that mean like about everything? Because that sounds really final, and I'm sure that's music to your ears, Frank. If you were in any way a Trumpian person yourself, Frank is absolutely correct. That sounds like, you know, the Kelvin scale. Yeah, Frank is absolutely correct.
Where's my gold castle?
Votes are actually still being counted in some states. Carl looks like a hillbilly in that hat. I wish I hadn't read that one out. Bonoiti. I'm going to go for the Portuguese familiar Bonoiti tonight. Bonoiti, fellas, great lids. Thank you very much. It was your idea, wasn't it, Garvo, in the Gaz Bar Man Cave there in Alvazra tonight?
Well, it was just Frank last night, because he said he had a great array of hats. So I thought we should not leave him there on his own and join that crusade.
Yeah, and you know what I'll do is when my hats arrive, I've got one plan for you both. I can promise you both one. You guys will at least get one of my hats.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
You will enjoy. I know which hat Garvo will get, and I know which hat Carl will get, and Carl will really enjoy it.
I think that might be at my expense, is the sense I get of that comment. But as you can see, my pumpkin-shaped head is not ideally suited to hats. You have to have a particular shaped head, I think, to wear a hat well, I think, in the first place. More of a pointy than a round Chinese face like I've got. Okay, fair enough. It's almost racist. Ruth, only kidding, lighten up, everybody. Ruth Ruth Bader Ginsburg will come back to escort Donny Boy out. What, like a spectre? Yeah, interesting. Eric says, to many people's dismay, if Biden is considered the winner, Trump will leave in January. Trump 2024. So he'll try again. Interesting. If you're only watching the mainstream media, you're only getting half the story. As much as that, trust me, there is fraud happening. How do 138,000 ballots show up in the middle of the night only for Biden in Michigan? I'm sure there's a really good reason for that. I'll do my Kennedy rub of the nose at that point. I don't know who you are who's saying that, actually. It would be good to know. Sorry, that's my who?
Charles.
It will be Charles. Okay. On June the 20th, if he doesn't leave, this is Jeffrey Kerr, a new name to the Expat Man Cave. If he doesn't leave on the 20th at noon at the swearing in of Biden, he is trespassing. He will be removed by the local police. Pretty simple. Can you imagine that? Getting the call at the White House Sheriff's Office. We have someone who needs to be removed from the premises. It's now 1 minute past 12. What a job. You're being told a set of lies and are completely falling for it. Oh, are we going to rise to that? We weren't going to keep talking about the US election. It's not Biden we're worried about. It's the extremely radical heels up Harris that will run our country into the ground and revoke our Second Amendment rights and further squash our First Amendment of free speech. I think that might be Charles as well. Hola, feckers! It's Eugene here. I'm only listening to audio, but I wouldn't trust Frank. He is the sort of person that would have a shark tooth necklace. A salmon shirt. Just my instincts, says Eugene. And in case you're tuned in thinking, oh, that's a bit edgy, they're the best of friends. It's just a bit of shtick for the show, I hope. La bonne night, homage, joining from a sunny morning in Australia. That sounds nice, doesn't it? That sounds really nice. I wonder if that's is it Andrew? Nobody's names are showing up. I think you're linking comments from your personal account and not the Expat Portugal account. Perhaps, yeah. But if you could do me a favor, because I'm in no state to go and tinker about technically and try and make that work. Could you sign it with maybe SWALK and your name or something like that at the end of each of your comments with emoticons and lols and all that sort of stuff? That'd be great. Sorry about that if that's what is happening tonight. Sleepy Joe won't last more than a year. Should we attempt to leave that there now?
Yeah, we can leave that there. I think there's a lot more wonderful things happening in the world, especially we are in Portugal. I'm having a Porto Tonico. Remember Porto Tonico? Oh, you're having a Super Bock. He's having a Super Bock. What are you drinking?
What do you want to cover?
I'm on this. Hang on. This stuff I've just tried.
Oh, the Cristal. Oh,
never had it before, so that's all right. Not too bad.
Is it a lager?
Yeah, well, it's a bit like Super Bock, sort of
Crystal.
A cheap version of Super Bock, I suppose.
Like crystal meth in a bottle, possibly. Okay, it is called Crystal, though.
It is called Crystal, yeah.
Okay,
hang on. Let me give you a.
That's got a certain ring to it, isn't it? Very good. Okay, so thank you, Gary. So there we are. Yeah, and I'm on the traditional Portuguese Super Bowl. I would have preferred Sagres, but it's not the end of the world. And it feels like I haven't had a beer for ages, and tonight feels like a beer night. You know, the end of the week. End of the week is beer, isn't it? And then you move on to something sophisticated like Frank's done, which is the white port plus tonic and plenty of ice.
Yes, and some ice. And then right after this, I'm going to move on to
Bombay Sapphire Gin. I like, well, it's not Sapphire, but it's Bombay Gin. Bombay Sapphire Gin is probably one of the only gin drinks I like. The rest of gin is like, but Sapphire is lovely. Bombay Sapphire is a lovely drink.
You don't like that other one with the I like this this other. I had it with Neil last week or 2 weeks ago. That's also another very nice gin. Once I remember the name, I'll tell you guys. But yeah, Bombay Sapphire is the blue bottle, right?
That's the one. That is a beautiful gin.
That's very open of you, Frank, to say you had it with Neil 2 weeks ago.
Mind you.
Oh, it's happening. It's happening. She's coming up.
bamboo. He's going behind the bamboo, everybody.
What's going on?
Hang on.
Right.
Let me get it right.
She's Ruby. She's blackberry.
There we go.
Blackberry, raspberry.
Yeah, that's really nice as well. That's Bombay gin.
Ah.
It's kind of, what does it say? Blackberry and raspberry.
Wow.
With the tonic, it's nice.
That's what goes down late at nights down there, eh?
Well, that's the under the bar stuff. That is. That's
Don't make excuses. I know what's going down.
Yeah, underneath the unassuming exterior of the Alvazra guest house. Because I need to find out. We were going to do one of these for your brother, weren't we? Okay, Terence, up for a Barcelo. I've got a nomination. I've got a story to tell about two amazing people who are up for a Barcelo, up against the odds at the moment, actually. A slightly serious edge to that. But Terence, what a ledge. Sometimes with us. And son Benjamin, we're about to honour your father here, which has a sort of Star Wars ring to it, doesn't it? Did anyone watch the Six Nations is the question from Benjamin. But your dad has been an absolute legend at the uncle's house. Is the job done now?
No. I mean, it's a big house. This place. It's a lot of walls, and we're kind of working in between the weather. So we do a bit when the sun comes out, and retreat when it's not.
Yeah.
But we've done this main wall here, most of the front wall, and we've got the big northern face wall at the back to do. So we're probably about halfway done, I would say.
Amazing. And he's been up there on ladders at incredible pitches with a lengthy lance and just really going beyond, literally above and beyond. With his,
exactly. Couldn't have put it better myself, really, to be honest.
A Barcelo for Terence. So we raise a glass to you tonight. I'll share my Barcelo story a bit later. I think it seems only right to do that. What about you, Frank? Have you got any nominations for alpha males or bottom feeders?
For this week, it would once again be the president of Portugal.
Okay.
I find this man to be exceptional. Every time he is in front of the camera, every time he gives an interview, when we're talking about a grown-up, we're talking about someone that you can look at on the TV screen. You can say, oh, he's a leader. I can sleep right now. This is fine. It will be handled. Someone is going to take care of it. Like this guy, anytime he's at the beach, he's talking to the locals. And I don't know if you guys have seen any of his interviews after with the locals, what they talked about. And they simply talk about, they ask him like direct questions. What are you doing about that particular policy? What's happening with that? And he answers them. He's just a regular guy, and he's such a solid guy. I was watching him the other day, and he was talking about the obviously the situation, the pandemic that we are in, and what we are trying to do. And the only thing that he was saying is, I am appealing to you as citizens. If you can, please observe your civic duty and don't come out of the house. If you can at all. If it's not necessary for you, don't come out. And listening to this guy, I was kind of like, you know what? Now that you're saying it, sir, I will not come out of the house. Thank you very much. I find him to be a formidable character. I don't know about you guys, but we have really lucked into a very decent leader here.
No, I think you're right. And he, sorry to just go back to that American constitutional question, but he is the check and balance here, isn't he? And you do hear of him suggesting that laws that are would appear to be hurried through. He kind of speaks out and says, that's not quite right. That's not constitutional. It needs to be done this way or that way. And I think he has quite a lot of power. It's in a similar way to Her Majesty the Queen. No need to stand up, everybody. Back in the UK, I think he has a lot of power that he doesn't use. And there is a much more modern familiarity, I think, with the governmental chamber, the lower house, as it were, beneath his position. But you do get that sense that occasionally he can upset the apple cart if needs be, and whisper in the ears of the politicians. And obviously as well, we probably aren't as cynical as we might be if we were Portuguese people about him and the cozy relationship. But certainly from an expat point of view, he looks pretty awesome, doesn't he?
He does. There's something about him that is amazing. The only thing would be is I think we should all pitch in and buy him some new swimming trunks because the poor guy, every time you see him in his beach pose, you're just like, dude, get new swimming trunks. It's time to get new swimming trunks. Like, did you see that video of him when he went to get his shot? I don't know if it was a flu shot or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like, can you like pull this thing up? He goes, no, I'm gonna take the entire shirt off. And he takes the shirt off, and the cameras are there, and he's not camera shy at all. I like this guy. This is a good guy.
And the week before that, he was rescuing a couple of women in distress in the Algarve, wasn't he? He got into trouble on a lilo or something. He swam out and got them.
He's a statesman, proper statesman.
And a man of the people as well. He's a bit of a hugger and a selfie guy as well. And then the other day I saw him, somebody was complaining about him not wearing a mask and not being socially distanced. But I think he's pretty careful with that sort of stuff. And obviously a man who's doing so many public engagements is going to be easy target for photographers catching him on an off moment in his defense. But there he was, like you say, Frank, standing back from a table. Someone passed him a mini beer like this. He was drinking it, chatting to them, and then he went on his way. He's not surrounded by FBI equivalents or anything like that, is he? It's a nice reflection of Portuguese life, I think.
It sums up what we have signed up for.
Yeah.
It sums up what we are here for.
Yes, indeed. I'm trying to find a picture of him in those shorts because what I noticed about his swimwear is I think it was from another era, but it did match the blue of masks that the color, the turquoise of his swimming trunks matched the turquoise of his mask, which I don't know if that was intentional or not. But it was a nice bit of color coordination. But I think, he perhaps does need to be brought into this century or decade, and we could have a GoFundMe for a new pair of Speedos for him. Maybe we could. As a
matter of fact, he would appreciate it. I think he would really, really like that.
Man Cave sponsorship. Maybe we could get a logo on them.
Come on, Eugene. Come on, you and your little Potrin donation. Give us £5 for our prime minister, for our president's swimming trunks. Come on, Eugene.
There he is to the left of that. What's that called? A rib or a canoe or something? And he is the one on the left there. And he's rescued the two ladies that were in it. He just swam out and did it. And I'm pretty sure that wasn't a staged thing. There he is, the mark of the man. So one of these for him.
Absolutely.
And I think he'd approve of that as well, given that it's a Barcelo award, based on the famous Portuguese cockerel. Let's go to a few of the comments, see if anyone else has got any nominations for alpha males and or bottom feeders, as in terms of male role models or not. Those very intelligent and well thought out comments were from Charles Mitchell, we should point out.
How you doing, Charles?
Very good. Steve could do with an adult beverage. And is asking, what's the rugby scene like in Portugal? I think it exists, actually, and Benjamin might be able to help with that because he plays rugby for his school, as I recall. Is that right, Gary?
He did. I don't know whether he still is not. I'm not quite sure. You'd have to ask him that. I'm sure he'll tell you. He'll fill you in.
The person who I think seemed a bit cross with us and are possibly thinking women maybe not woke enough or something like that says, nothing gets people motivated like imaginary fear to keep them motivated to vote for you. Trump was successful in equating his imaginary stories of what Biden may do with what has actually come to pass under his reign. Also, for everyone worried about that Biden will allow riots, Trump is president, and we have more riots now than we've had for decades. Blame Trump for allowing that. Okay. All right. We got it. I am done with talking politics as none of this ends well. I am ready for the booze and Portugal talk.
Yeah. Nice one, Charles. Nice one.
Is that cough medicine? Somebody's asking. Probably about your drink. I think yours looks most like that. No, actually, a crystal could be a cough medicine, couldn't it? It could be like a 1950s British cough medicine. Take a crystal.
This slimy butter, I think, is going on about my last drink. It's called Porto. It's called, what's the drink? It's called Porto Tonico. It's actually a very nice drink. When you come over here, I'll buy you one of these drinks, and then you can tell me how medicine-y it tastes.
I was on it as soon as you mentioned it. I think a couple of sessions ago, I was drinking Porto Tonico. I really liked it, Porto Tonico. I do think he's talking about the crystal, though. And I can just imagine, some old Pathé News type advert. Drink crystal cough medicine for a crystal clear larynx. And it could well be that prompted that question. Charles, I agree to a truce. I am full to the top with politics. Need to be full of wine instead. Well done, fellas. Well done. That's the spirit.
Sensible idea.
Yes, very good. Agreed, Chris. Cheers. Oh, that's really nice to see. Well done, fellas. Yes, Frank. Where is Neil? Is he locked in a box, dressed in a gimp suit? Did Eugene? I think he's hit the pochine hard earlier on tonight. He's no holds barred here. Did he reject your advances, Frank? And did that displease you? Make the Canadian dude leave me alone. That's trending on Twitter at the moment. Make the Canadian dude leave Neil alone, apparently. Or it is in Ireland.
Eugene, what I'm trying to figure out is why are you not on the screen? Why are you not here? Is a Japanese doll somewhere around the world getting abused somewhere? What's going on, Eugene?
Well, if he rises to that. Because we love to see you here with your dressing gown. All of us are just hoping it doesn't fall open at an inopportune moment. But we're very glad to have you on the screen.
Is it a dressing gown? Is it a kimono, you think?
Yes, you're right. It might have been a velour kimono.
Yes.
It isn't the length of the lance that is impressive. It is the power of the stream. Wow. I think that was Confucius who said that, actually. Yes, well said.
No, it was Terence. It was Terence right up on the ladder who said that.
Oh, of course. Look at my jet. As he's up on the ladder. 3 extensions and a powerful jet. Portugal president, sounds great, refreshing. That said, the only other shirtless world leader I've seen is Putin. I don't think I've seen any footage of Putin and Marcelo together. We've seen Marcelo winning the handshake off, so to speak, with Trump. But I'm not seeing him with Putin. He must have met Putin. Frank needs to send him a hat. Yes. So if we could send one of the hats to the president as well with a little note. Or join us one evening for the man cave. He might do it. How much of their reaction to him is the fact that some of the old people still remember him living under a very oppressive regime? That may well be it. He is known to the population here for decades. He was on telly. I mean, it's not a dissimilar thing to your celebrity politician whose name I won't mention again. But he was on TV. He had a long legal career, I think. So his face was known. It's a good move in politics these days, isn't it? To have your face on telly for a while before you go for a big public office. So I think old folks do remember him, and he cuts it with the youngsters as well. Oh, come on. Your president is my hero. In 2018, that's right, exactly. Blythe says, your president is my hero. In 2018, he also strong-armed Trump and took 45 off guard with his aggressive handshake. Look it up. It's priceless. It is fantastic, Blythe. I have shown that on one of our streams here. Legendary. And maybe that's a sport that we could also get into. It's a man cave thing. There's those really strong handshakes. We could train in that sort of thing and have competitions. I will not enable your fascination with other men during the leisure time, Canadian dude. What's up with you tonight?
He's got one on tonight, isn't he? He's really got a come on.
He's got a proverbial wiggly hair.
There's something going on under the kimono today. What's going on? Come on, Eugene.
Don't want to see that. Let's send the Portuguese swim trunk manufacturer and have a set sent to him from this site. I will contribute. So the GoFundMe has got legs, as it were. The trunks have got legs. Fantastic. We should do it. Eric, Charles gets my vote for carrying the GOP torch on the shows earlier this week. Thanks, Charles. Come on, stop it now. Let it lie. Eugene is awesome.
Yes.
The Wurzels, simply. Oh, that's looking at us. We've got a brand new combine harvester between us. Okay, thanks, Brad, for that. Yeah, I see where you've gone with that. This is my Caseiro gardener look for sure in Portugal. I did buy this when the sun was very strong in the summer, and then the dog got it, as you can see, and he chewed it. It really peed me off. that Jimmy, the puppy, chewed it up. But I'm keeping it anyway. And Mrs. M doesn't like me wearing it out in public for some reason. Silence, minions! I shall have you liquidated for your insolence. I don't know what's got into the Pochine this evening. He's a bit different.
Yeah, he's directly quoting the Japanese doll. What's going on?
I think he must have found a rough patch that he's going through.
I think so. And is that what Japanese sex dolls say to their owners? I shall have you liquidated.
Yes.
That's one of the settings, isn't it? I suppose
it was the extreme thing. Oh, okay.
Oh, I've got to tell you as well. Sometimes I give my phone, pass it across to Mrs. M, and say, "Can you just tell me who that was calling, or can you just tap that message out for me while we're driving or whatever?" And on one occasion, I should have learned from the silence that after I wasn't very on it, in the dynamics of her looking at my phone, and it came up a day or two later. And then it kind of gets worse the longer it's left when the missus sees something on your phone. And she said to me, I saw on your phone, I hope you don't mind me saying, but that you've been looking up Japanese sex dolls on Google. And I was like, oh no, that is so bad. And it's a true story, and she believed it, and I could give her complete credit. Actually, she deserves a Barcelo award for this. But I said, well, I was just researching it because I wanted to do a meme for Frank, for an image of a Japanese sex doll and you, Frank, and you doing an interview, because I think that's where it was going that night, wasn't it? You were doing
where it went.
That's where it went, and I lived to tell the tale of that. So she's obviously a very understanding woman. I played rugby for a club in Caldash. The rugby scene is quite small, but they have quite a formidable national team. To answer your question, Steve, about rugby, I had the privilege enough to ball boy for an international game and see the Portuguese rugby team absolutely destroy Canada, funnily enough, and the Czech Republic firsthand. I mean, I've not heard of the Canadian rugby team, to be fair. So maybe that was only to be expected, the destruction of the Canadian team. I don't know if you want to be personally responsible for that, Frank, tonight.
No, I don't. I take no responsibility for losing Canadian teams. They're losers. They're big losers.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, let's leave that there then. Hopefully, lesson learned, Carl. Wife doesn't look at your phone. There's a little straw poll we could do tonight. Do you fellas here? And actually, at this point, I should say that we found out this week that actually quite a few women watch the Expat Man Cave. They don't shout out in the comments, do they? They watch. They just watch. They lurk and watch. So, I was a bit shocked at first when I discovered that. And we were encouraging a she shed to go alongside this, which sounds like something Sean Connery would have said, right? The she shed. And of course, big honours and an absolute lifetime Hall of Fame Barcelo for Sean Connery, of course, in the last week. So hope that answers your question, Steve, about rugby. Eric J was asking, and I'll let you answer this as I go and get another cold beer. What is the craft beer scene like in Portugal? Over to you, Frank, while I go and get another cold one.
It's spectacular, Eric. In Lisbon, there is this area which has at least, there's one brewery called Musa Brewery, M-U-S-A. Look it up online. It's in Lisbon. In that same area, there is one or two other craft breweries. It's an amazing scene over here. And when you go to smaller towns, they really, really do beer very well over here. The craft beer, some of the beers that I've had actually were a combination of Belgian beers, German. They do a very, very good job. I'm really, really impressed with the beer scene over here. You will really enjoy it. It's not only the beer, wine you already know, but it's I'm really getting into the aguardiente. Aguardiente is the Portuguese version of. It's almost as smooth. Depends what quality you get as a single malt, man. It's amazing. I'm really getting into it. But to your question, yes, beers over here are amazing. Craft beers are spectacular. You will enjoy it here. When are you moving over here, by the way, Eric? We are all very, very curious. Are you moving to Lisbon? Are you moving to Coimbra? Which town are you moving to?
Frank, did you mention Musa? In my
Mhm.
yeah, that place is lovely, isn't it?
It's lovely.
Yeah.
We're actually, we had talked about going and doing a show from there, right? Remember?
Great idea. Yeah, absolutely. That sounds fantastic. I think they'd probably be up for it. I did go in there on a little tour that I was on. A kind of sort of invest in Lisbon, sort of jolly, and it
Yeah.
was a great night, a good tasting. They did some nice food in there as well, and I can see us broadcasting from the back, the brewery part, and a
Mhm.
really cool. He wasn't a Portuguese guy. He'd been brought in from America actually to teach them or to bring his particular shtick and approach to brewing. And it was so cool. A really great range, really cool place, and a fantastic part of town as well, isn't it? Beato is a really cool bit of Lisbon.
Amazing. And one thing I noticed when I went into that place, I still remember this. When a place smells like, usually when you go to a pub, when you can smell like stale beer or beer that's been sitting around all over the place. This place smelled like it had an amazing smell of beer when you went in. You knew that you were in a brewery where they're making craft beer in the back, and then they were offering you beers and stuff like that. So it's a wonderful place. I think over here, any scene possible in Lisbon works very well. They do a very good job, especially since we're in Europe, right?
Yeah. Gary, did you have anything to say? Central Portugal craft beer. Have you come across any independent brewing in your part of Portugal?
Not where I live. I mean, it may be here, but I'm not sort of wise enough to seek it out. There's probably a few guys who are doing some home brews in their cellars, but there's nobody that I know that actually does what I would call a craft beer. So, Frank, you've got a big advantage down there, and you must share that knowledge with us.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. I think I had spoken to Carl about this. I think we were thinking about going to a few of these breweries and going and hanging out and doing a show over there, give folks some knowledge about how the beer is done, how the beer culture is different over here as opposed to anywhere else in Europe, because they have their own flavor. It's amazing.
Aveiro is very good as well for beer. I know that Pete over in Castanheira de Pera, they go on sort of little beer, not cruises, but like crawls of local bars and stuff. So there must be a little bit of a central Portugal scene. He and Ferry, the Dutchman, I think we'll have to hook up with one of their outings. So they dress up as monks and go out and drink beer. So that could be fun. Aveiro is also very good. The Maldita brewery up there, and Letra, Letra. Yeah, Northern Portugal. I'm sure Porto's got a really good craft beer scene. So just generally speaking, Eric, yeah, brilliant. You could do a tour of craft.
Some of the bars that I went when I went to Porto, some of the bars that I went to, they did independent. They did their own beer, and I find Porto. The amazing thing about Portugal is that it's not a huge country, but region to region, every small region to region, it's got such specialty. Like when you go to Porto, there are so many chic, amazing places over there to go and have a drink. So it's like I'm not a spokesperson for Portugal travel or anything, but the beer scene is amazing. Overall drink scene, entertainment scene. If this COVID thing would go away, you will see that that's why tourists come over here. Portugal is a spectacular place for entertainment, life, everything.
Well said. Handshaking. Then going back to the president. Or the presidents are shaking hands with each other. Handshaking has been completely erased from Australian culture now. It shows how difficult it is to let go of cultural norms, says Andrew. Yeah, it is Andrew there in Australia. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, what's your preference now? Do you like a fist or an elbow?
All right, I know where this is going. Neither. I like a handshake.
That's no better, frankly. And this is a reference to my hat, I think. Chewed on it and peed on it too, from the looks of it. Who are you?
Yes.
actually,
Yes. How dare you insult the host? Who is this guy? I'll go fix him personally.
they're really not aware of the Portuguese insult of when you insult someone's hat, you insult their whole family. But
Yes.
I'm going to let it go on this occasion.
Yes.
Eugene says, "Tomo arigato." I don't know
Oh.
what that means, but it sounds like Eugene is turning Japanese, which is not
Carl,
surprising.
did I not say direct quotes from the doll?
Yes, turning Japanese. I think I'm turning Japanese. I really think so. In Eugene's case, then we all know what that means from that popular 80s song. Yes, don't let the wife look at the phone is another thing. And the women who are watching this secretly might ask to see their husbands' phones and to see if there are any Japanese sex doll searches on there. We can explain that one. Sure. That is why you're looking up sex dolls. Who is that? Put your names at the end of the comments. Do each of you have your favorite football team in Portugal? Good question. Gary, Frank?
Well, I've got it. I'm convinced that I've got my favorite football team now, but I'll let Garvo go first.
This is strong Benfica territory, so I cannot have anything else really. It's got to be Benfica all the way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Benfica are the ones with the eagles, right? And that's, you often see that, don't you, at the ends of people's drives? They have the Benfica eagle, two of them.
I did have. Hang on, I did have one here somewhere, but it fell off the thing and smashed. So that I can't show it to you now. It's a big, impressive, tasteless eagle, but.
Did that affect their results at all?
I don't know. No, couldn't do, because I think they're top of the league at the moment, so must have helped them.
You have to keep smashing eagle effigies to keep them winning. not that we're superstitious or anything.
I reckon Frank's going to be a bit of a Sporting Lisbon. I can see it coming now. I can see a lion there.
No, it's not. You can guess a lot of things, but that one you didn't guess right, Garvo. I'm a bit disappointed. I'm like this bit disappointed. Like this bit.
It's changed the atmosphere a bit. That go on. Yeah. So, you're another Benfica man, right?
No. My team is Porto.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Why do we not guess that, Gary? What is it about Frank that's just not giving us that hint or signal?
Because he's just violently unpredictable.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Right. Yeah,
that's what we love about him. We just never know which way he's going to come from.
Yeah, watch out for that in the gym, everybody. He's like Kato, isn't he? In the Pink Panther movies, he steps out with an unusual opinion at any given moment. My team, Anadia, my local football team. They're not a big team. They are a very successful team in their league. You know, I noticed today that the Anadia football ground had a sign. I was just driving back from Coimbra this afternoon, and there was a Euros sign still up, and Anadia was one of the stadia that was used. And we've got loads of great stadiums, haven't we, as a result of the Euros that are still here and unused, I think. So we're waiting for the World Cup to come back.
And they've not been paid for.
No, this continues our EU conversation, doesn't it? Presumably that they have been paid for, but the maintenance is now over to the taxpayer.
Yes.
Yeah.
On one of my train trips to Coimbra, we spoke to a Sporting Braga fan, and I was telling him that how much I love his stadium. You know, it's an amazing stadium. If we get a chance, I think all of us should go over there and watch a game at the Sporting Braga stadium. The stadium is carved into a mountain. It's just scenic, amazing. Well, the guy was saying they already had a stadium in Braga, but they went and built this one especially for the Euros, and the city now cannot pay for the other one. The other one's just sitting over there. They're going to demolish it, and they're cash strapped. They already have a lot of issues. Obviously, EU paid for this, paid for a lot of these luxuries. The issue here is that he says that the stadium cannot be filled to capacity. So they're experiencing a lot of issues. The fans are not happy because the wind blows a certain way because of the mountain, and they preferred the old stadium. it's just become an issue. The stadium that I really like is the stadium in Porto Dragão. It's a very nice stadium. I've watched the game over there.
Don't you just put the away fans in the windy bit of a football ground? I mean, that's my experience. When I lived in Exeter, I followed Exeter for a little while, went to some games, and my girlfriend at the time, her uncle was a big Leyton Orient fan, and I went into the away end with the Orient fans, and it was like going back to the 70s or 80s. They were all like dressed up like casuals, with really well dressed, but it was as though a part of the Berlin Wall had been exported after it had been taken down and put at the end of the Exeter FC St James's for the away fans to be on, out in the rain and the wind. And I would have thought that's what would happen in the Braga ground, is that they would just put the away fans in that windy bit.
Well, here's the thing, and my wife is going to kill me for this. This is the liberties architects take when they are afforded a huge budget. So they can go after luxury projects. They can carve a stadium into a mountain, and they can do all these beautiful things. A lot of the practicalities, when he was talking about practicalities, he was like, they did not think about a lot of practicalities. It's a beautiful stadium, but a lot of the things the architects did not think about. And I was like, really, I've never heard of that. So
okay. We'll still go, won't we, at some point? This is on our list. I was talking about it this morning, the Portugal list. It just gets bigger, doesn't it, every week? So I spoke up, and I'm drinking Dalmore 12 year to add to the fun. That's
Scotch. Good man.
Sounds good. It's been that kind of week in the US, as you all know. Really? Why? What's that? Eugene. Oh gosh, look, we had a game a bit like rugby and tag when I was a child. We called it Brits and Rioters. It involved people getting the SH1T kicked out of them. Simple and happier times, says Eugene. Eugene sounds like he's been on the gin tonight, doesn't he? He's got the countenance of a gin drinker.
He sounds like he's drinking Javex. I don't know what he's drinking.
What's that, brake fluid?
No, Javex is the one that bleach. It's a bleach. He's drinking something heavy duty, man. Eugene, what are you drinking? It's not Potrin, because you make a lot of sense when you drink Potrin.
I think he maybe needs to talk. So do join us, Eugene. You know you're always welcome. Evening, ladies, from Owen. I do love it when he calls us that.
There you go.
Yeah. Thank Frank for the insight. We're currently interested in Lisbon, Coimbra, and Porto. Once we get out of jail here, we're looking to visit and hopefully move in 2022. We will be part of your welcoming committee, Eric, and call them.
Eric, if I'm here, I'll take you personally.
Well, he says that to a lot of people, actually. I will take you personally. You've got to be careful saying things like that, Frank. Are they importing
Did I not promise and deliver, Carl Bunsen?
I'm just trying to think if you've ever taken me privately. Not that I can remember. Gary's saying so much, saying nothing with his facial expressions tonight.
Gary, his hat mysteriously went up, and now we can see his entire forehead.
Intellect. That's where the intellect is stored.
We're getting the best. So, do we know the answer to that? Are the Portuguese beer makers importing the grain and hops, or the hops? I think some hops are grown in Portugal, as I recall, but I might be. Yeah.
Yes, they based on what I've read about their local beers or their craft scene, everything is done over here.
Okay, all right. So I would think so. Yeah, I would think that if it's not happening, there will be a move to have that happen in this great sort of revival here of locality and artisanry, if that's the right way of putting it. What happened to your hat, Cole? Don't worry, Beth. I still have my hat. Oh, I see. This is Mrs. Mitchell. Very good. It's here. It's chewed. It's been weed on, as somebody said, by the puppy. And it will be coming out again. It's my gardening hat and what I wear to town when it's just far too hot here in Portugal. And because I keep getting these terrible haircuts because I don't speak the language well enough. So I do need that bit.
Back, Garvo. You know what? I'll tell you one thing. It's coming back. And I hope you're not going back to the same person.
Okay. Yes, that's my dad would say. Did they do it with a knife and fork? Thanks, guys. Enjoyed the visit. I'll be back in the future. Retired west of Mafra. Great to have you here, Jeffrey, if you haven't gone already. Yes, Mafra. I see that as I'm driving on the A1 and wonder what Mafra is like. I don't know a lot about Mafra, I have to say. And maybe you can treat us to that sometime, Jeffrey. People can join us on screen if they wish to. They could call on WhatsApp as well. I think we should invite Eugene in rather than having as an irate caller on the phone, but we'll see. Portugal's size fascinates me. In Australia, I drive 2 hours to visit friends, 6 hours for family. That time spent in Portugal would cover quite a lot. It would absolutely. Talking to a lawyer the other day who said, you can't be more than 4 hours away from somewhere, can you, in Portugal? I don't think. Oh, I think maybe he was talking about being in Lisbon. He was never more than 4 hours away from anywhere. So I guess top to bottom, you're looking at a day trip. And you don't want to be rushing it, do you? You want to be stopping off at nice cafes and stuff. But
having a lira, have a glass of wine, have some beer. There's so much to do in this country. So you're saying top to bottom, it would be a 24-hour trip,
No.
like stopping? No, it's not right.
Not as long as that. No, you can travel the country.
There's just because my friend lives in Australia, my best friend. And you don't really understand how big Australia is until you get something to put it in scale by. If you overlaid Australia over a map of Europe, it would stretch from the west coast of Ireland to Turkey.
Flipping heck.
So it's big. And either of you ever been to Australia?
Yeah.
Well, maybe you made the same mistake as I did, because as you sort of approach a new country and they come over the intercom and say, and now we're approaching the coastline of Australia. Yeah. Me being naive as I am, like any other place I've been to, I thought, oh, well, we're going to be landing soon, so I best get my stuff together. And we were going to Sydney, and we'd just flown in over Darwin. So I'm getting all my bags together, and, as you do on the plane, I think it was probably about 5 hours later, we landed in Sydney. Yes. So, it kind of shows how big the place is.
It does.
It's huge, but the thing is, this is exactly what we see in Canada. It's Canada from east to west. It would take you at least, if you were driving on Highway 1, it would take you 6 days, 7 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. I understand Portugal would fit into Oklahoma. If there is one state, and I think it is Oklahoma, that Portugal fits into entirely. To give you a sense of the scale. That said, people could be put off thinking, well, that's a tiny place. There can't be much to do there. But even in that small footprint, there is an incredible diversity of experience.
It's the microclimates that we have over here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can get a really diverse range of experiences. Skiing in the Estrellas, blazing heat down in the south, a windy Atlantic, green coast, everything. I would say it's pretty amazing. You get a lot of bang for your buck, even though it's a tiny country.
Someone should pay us to do this. This is not fair. Like we're promoting this, man. We're like really going for this. Well, we love living over here, but some changes here and there wouldn't be bad.
Well, as soon as the president gets his new pair of trunks from us, I think things will change. Frankly,
I think so. I'll have that chat.
Yeah,
that was the other thing Carla heard about the president's trunks. Apparently, they're a bit old and sort of faded now, and they're Speedos. But there was one report that the S had started to fade away, so he really needs to get a new pair.
Yes, very good. Well, we're right behind it, as it were.
Come on, your dad jokes. I love them.
Yes, very good. I like being able to heckle you without my name showing up.
Here's the thing. I'll give you guys something very fascinating. As far as Speedos go, you know what the weirdest country to go and see Speedos in is in Brazil. Like you go over there and you see like elderly men wearing very tight Speedos. So like they're the Big Mac is hanging like right there. So you're walking around and you like see this old guy in almost a thong walking around, and this guy's like 70, 80 years old on the beach with his girlfriend who's probably like 35 years old with like a string going around the thing, and the guy has no care for the world, 2 gold chains. And you're like, man, what is going on in this country? I love this country. When you go to Brazil, everything changes. Whatever we know of how things work in Europe or North America, you think you've traveled. When you go to Brazil, everything changes.
Amazing. Yeah, I just got distracted when you said string around the thing. Did you, Gary, as well? There's a string around the thing.
I couldn't go any further.
And no body shaming here. I hope to be that guy one day. I have to say,
I can see you wearing a thong, Carl.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I should take that. But yes, feel free. I like being able to heckle you without my name showing up. This is Chris. Hi. Maybe I should sign as Charles and get him in trouble. That would be hilarious. Let's see how that goes from here on in. And we are over our allotted hour. Sometimes at this point we go lock-in, don't we? And we have a private party. But I think the mood is right to continue for a bit longer.
Yes, of course we should.
Maybe that's not for us to decide.
I was going to ask you the question as well. Going back to where he's in Northern Ireland, when they, as kids, they used to play pass the parcel. Did they play really quick?
Oh my God. Okay, we should. Yes, hold on to your hat. We should have an episode where anyone appearing on screen has to wear clothes they think the Canadian dude will appear in. What do we call that? Canadian Friday or something like that?
Yeah, we should do that. Eugene, what would you wear? I'm really curious. What would you wear? We don't have kimonos in Canada. I don't know. It wouldn't work.
Oh, I bet you do. You don't own up to having kimonos in Canada, maybe. I was just thinking with inappropriate Irish humour. I remember being in Belfast, actually, and I was walking down the street, and a car backfired, and a local lad did shout out, "Ah, my kneecaps!" And that's the Irish sense of humour. It was amazing. I kid you not. That's exactly what happened. Are all of you retarded? Oh, sorry. Are all of you retired?
I thought you said, "Are all of you retarded?"
You can't say that. Whoever you are. Charles is signing that. I may have the countenance of a retired person, but I am not. I'm still hustling. I'm still hustling, Charles. And at that point, I should say, no, I'm not retired. Let me just put this up on the screen. Support the show, become a premium member at expatsportugal.com. I'm definitely not retired. Okay. Frank, are you retired?
No, I'm not retired. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm hustling because Eugene will come straight for me. Eugene will take like a one-way ticket over here to Lisbon.
Canadian dude. What about you, Gary? Would you describe yourself as retired?
Well, as a senior member here, I think. Yeah, I'm supposed to be. I've never done more bloody work in my life since I've been here. So yes and no, really.
Interesting how that happens, right?
Retirement suits you, Garvo. I think that you give retirement a good name.
Yeah, but you should have seen me before, Frank. I was magnificent.
Well, you're still magnificent, man. I'm all for it.
Yeah. We all agree. You're magnificent, and that's what this is about. This brotherhood is bigging each other up and supporting each other in these challenging times. I do want to ask actually about crying and weeping, because there was this bingo card that I suggested we might look at about introverts, and one of them was something like breaks into tears. Do you find, and then we can come back to this, but do you find as you're getting older as a bloke, you sometimes weep, or is that just me?
No, it's stop it, Garvo. Stop shaking your head. I think you weep. I think you weep down in the gas bar. I don't think you do it in front of Linda. I think you do it right there. At least we're admitting it.
Yeah.
Come on, Garvo.
As I've got older, I haven't been able to do it. I don't know why. I was quite a softie really in my younger years, but I don't know. As I got older, I've got a bit sort of stayed and sort of all tight, and I don't know why that is. I just find it hard to do now.
Oh, maybe the dynamic is that then if you didn't before, you do now, and if you did before, you don't. Maybe there's a kind of transition thing. But I'm interested to know, because we are blokes with the notable exception of Benjamin here. I think we are in our older years, generally speaking, past middle age and above. I'll put it like that. And I remember John Peel talking about it once, about, you know, just being moved to tears more often than he ever remembered in his life. And I find, especially with music, is that with you, Frank? Do you get
Yes.
a bit?
Do you think that when you listen to amazing, I find that happening when I am reading a book sometimes, or when I'm listening to music, or if I am watching a movie that is like really, I'm really getting into. It's yes, it's no shame in it. I think it's a cool thing. I think that this basically means that we are cultivating something within.
Or is it
Yeah.
because your thumb's too tight?
Come on, Eugene.
I imagine Eugene's a weeper, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Go on, Gary. What were you going to say?
I said he might just be weeping because his thong's too tight.
It could be that. Actually, look, this is what he said, Mankini.
There you go.
That's got to make a man weep, hasn't it? From time to time, if you bend down suddenly, which happened to me the other day, because as I said, I was so tired one morning the other day, and I put my pants on back to front and inside out, and I only discovered this when I bent down quickly in the garden. I crouched when I was performing some sort of gardening maneuver, and there was this huge rip, which was partly funny, but also I was thinking, you know, that's not good. And what are these made of? That kind of, you know, those sort of thoughts that go through your mind as your pants rip. But a Mankini's certainly going to make. He's certainly
I got
going
a
to make.
question for you, Carl.
What?
So while that was going on, did you give the ladies a nice nice view, nice landscape of what's going down?
Are you talking about my chickens?
Yes.
Um, probably yes, but
Did
no.
you give them a nice plumber? You know, like a
No,
nice plumber view.
the view people might have of me as a result of this conversation is that I wear this hat and only a pair of inside out back to front pants in the garden. No, I had trousers on as well as the pants, Frank. So there was no public display of affection, if you like. It all took place undercover, but the sound was pretty intense. I have to say, it was comic. It was like, you know, Benny Hill sketch with a great big BBC sound effect rip, and they're beyond repair. I have to say, you know, I showed them to Mrs. M, and they're a write off, really. And I don't know how we got there. We were talking about crying, aren't we, and mankinis and that sort of thing.
But here's the thing: pushing on another question based on what you asked. Do you find, as you're getting older, that you could give a toss about, like, you know, if you're like walking around the house and, you know, like, you know, you're scratching the sausage and the beans, and you're like walking around and you're saying to yourself, you know, I just, like, you know, I just don't care. Is that happening these days?
Yes.
It
is. There is some there. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Also, it's at those times, isn't it, when you can call upon the great Winston Churchill quote. You know, where his was it his secretary said, "Mr. Churchill, your flies are undone," and he said, "Madam, dead birds do not fall out of their nests." You could, you know, you have that up your sleeve, as it were. Yeah, and I think that's right, isn't it? As we get older, we could care less. Whilst I suppose so that's connected in a way with the crying, with the weeping thing, isn't it? And becoming a more compassionate elder. So in a sense, I guess caring more about others and the bigger picture, I would hope, is something we would cultivate, but caring less about our own egotistical, personal, you know, appearance and so on. And the
I think we're letting go. I think we're shedding. We're shedding things. I think we're shedding things along with clothing. You know, this is a good thing.
Yes. Okay. Well, there you go. If there are any younger women watching this tonight thinking, how is my husband going to end up? I'm afraid to say this might be, you're looking at it. You're looking at it.
Yeah, you're looking at it.
Why isn't it the sports program, the Expat Sport Report? We did talk a little bit about football and kept it on the Portuguese football. And you're probably right. Nobody wants to talk about Man United at the moment, especially a Man United fan. Paul is celebrating bragging rights for Paul. Southampton top of the Premier League tonight. Can we ask? I mean, this might be a moment when you weep, Frank. How do you feel about Man United's current performance?
It's this week. I knew you were going to. Somehow I knew that even though you're not a sports fan, you would push on that button. You would push on that button where you know it's going to be painful.
Are we talking about Man?
No, you know what? I'll tell you one thing. It's very, as far as football is concerned, it's been a very painful week. It's been a very painful 2 weeks because we lost to, we lost, we lost to a team from Istanbul in the Champions League. And this week, on I think on Sunday, we're playing Everton. I think we're going to lose that one as well. It's not very good show for my team. We're looking horrible. We're in 15th place right now, and I don't understand what's going on. Carl, I really appreciate you giggling. This is good news. This is entertaining, but it's very, very painful as a United fan. Stop shaking your head. This is exactly what you meant to do to me.
It's not. I promise you, it isn't. Every time I hear Man United mentioned, I do think of you. That's true. But I'm looking at some of the comments. It's completely unrelated, so forgive me. And I know that happens sometimes because I might be having a conversation with somebody in one of these live streams, doing an interview, and they're saying something really serious, and then someone like Gary or you will have sent a comment. And then this smile appears on my face, and they're telling me about what a terrible time they've had, moving over to Portugal or something. And I'm seeing one of your comments going, That's what happened then, Frank. I can assure you.
I know that. And you know what? One of the shows I actually remember that you were talking to someone, and it was things were not going like it was not very entertaining. And I will admit to one thing. I have specifically tried to spice things up and throw things in there. And you were like, the crafty thing that you do on the screen is like you'll read it, and you will read it as if like he was like, "Oh, Frank, he's my buddy on Man Cave. He's gone. Oh yeah. Oh, thank you, Frank. Thank you very much." And whatever, moving right along. And I'm just like, "Oh, this is good. This is nice."
You busted. Absolutely. What else can I say? Eric, this is a good offer. And I will get to those juicy comments in a minute because they're fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. And I'm sure the women who are secretly watching do want to comment, but they can't bring themselves to blow their cover. Beers are all on me for the first time we all meet. Isn't that a fantastic offer from Eric?
Thank you, Eric. Second round on me.
Can you imagine? And Charles as well. If we have a night out with Charles, Chris, you're invited to that as well. It's going to be a bit uncomfortable at the beginning, obviously, before we start drinking those beers. But that's going to be awesome when we have these get-togethers of our brothers coming up.
What do you guys think about the she shed?
Well, I don't want to be patronising or anything politically correct.
Go there.
So I will. I encourage and support any measures to bring about a she shed, but obviously we got to stay out of that, haven't we?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say about that. As far as I would say.
You pulled the Blair on that one.
Thank you. It's a very, very good question, and I will answer it. But first, just let me say, Canadian tuxedo. I'm imagining a Canadian tuxedo is white. Yeah, is that right?
It should be. I don't know.
Is that a euphemism for something? Or...
I think so. Yeah, it might be like a Portuguese breakfast. Yeah, I gave my Japanese sex doll the full Canadian tuxedo, something like that.
Could be.
Benji, don't be like that. I like you.
I already knew you. Oh dear. I'll just leave that on the screen and not read that out. I can't do that. Stay strong, Garvo. So on the weeping matter, stay strong, Garvo. Let those weepers weep. And look, dear God, change your man puns. That's what I was. Oh dear. And Charles, your sentence needs a comma. Oh, we've got some grammar policing going on as well. That's when it turns nasty. Once the grammar gets corrected, that changes the atmosphere, doesn't it? Certainly on social media. No one's insulting anyone here, I hope. A not often talked about issue in men's health is andropause after your 40s. It is the male equivalent of the women's change of life. And obviously, we would be applauded for bringing up such a subject. And do we go into this right now? I mean,
we're not. Here's the thing. Here's the one problem. As much as we think we are good at this, we're not. We're not experts at men's health. And knowing both of you, because I've met you in person, we all three of you know one thing is that we're not very good with this. So let's not go there.
Okay. So, I'm happy to talk about things like, bringing up the subject of weeping. But yeah, you're right, Frank. We shouldn't in any way try and be experts on the. I've never even heard of the andropause. I can't even begin to.
You'll have to start playing carpenters. You and I will start weeping. Garvo will pretend he's not weeping. He's going to go to one side and he's going to start doing this with the paddle. It's not going to be a good scene.
We've only just begun.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, Marty P's here tonight as well. Hello, Marty. Blythe, yes, the handshake was epic. That needs to be on a loop somewhere in the man cave. Marcelo shaking Trump's hand is awesome. Eugene is back, everybody. If you secretly do, it wasn't secretly, it was a mistake, Eugene, I have to say. If you secretly do wear it inside out and back to front pants and a hat in your private time, Carl, I am not here to judge. But if you do, and Frank arrives and tries to lure you into a box, remember our brother Neil and run.
Eugene, my reputation precedes itself. Come on, brother.
It really does, Frank. I'm really looking forward to watching football in Portugal. The fans seem incredible. We might have some happy tears from Gary now.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about your sex pants now. That's it.
What, all ripped? Should I have not thrown them away? I should have kept them, maybe.
How on earth do you rip a pair of underpants? Never in my life have I ever ripped a pair of underpants. Trousers, yes, but not underpants. How tight are those underpants, Carl?
They were boxers. They were boxers.
He's probably, you know what? Sometimes it happens. They've overdone their welcome, and maybe it's like Carl is like now. Sometimes you get very comfortable with some underpants, and you get very friendly. You're like, all right, you know what? I'm going to keep these. They are very comfortable, and after a while, I'm going to get rid of them. And you don't get rid of them, and then something happens to them, right, Carl?
No, you're right. You are right. And I've had Marks and Spencer's boxers that have lasted 10 years, right? Such was the quality of said garments. And these were from, and this is another topic of conversation for expats, I think, who are already here in Portugal.
Egyptian cotton, yeah.
Bangladeshi. And I'm afraid to say this, but I think they were from Mo, which gives you an idea of how expensive they were. And Mo is a if you go to a Continent, which is one of our supermarkets here, there's a kind of set of shops that goes with it that's all owned by the same chain. There's the Mo clothes bit, there's the Wells Pharmacy, and I don't know if they've got anything else, but you'll often Wharton, I think Wharton's part of their chain with the electronics and stuff. So they've stitched it up good and proper, and it's all it's all sort of cheap. It's aimed at not the lowest kind of Walmart, Costco, but it's the Tesco, I suppose, of Portugal, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And so the clothing is cheap, and I bought a 3-pack of boxers, and they were a nice design. I liked them, and I was getting fond of them in a way that you talk about, because I think a man can get attached to his pants, especially if he doesn't change them very often. But I like them. They were a nice check, and they had a button. I mean, this is real man cave stuff now. They had a button on the fly. But I am a bit disappointed that they were obviously cheap, sweatshop, and I'm not proud of that. I would really like to wear organic cotton boxers from Patagonia or whatever that cost €30 a pair, and they were be hand measured for them. Sorry, I distracted myself there.
This is not going well. Go ahead.
Sorry, but these were cheapies. These are like 3 pairs for a tenner or something, and it was. I think it's because they were on inside out and back to front that the seam gave way. I can't claim any other reason for bursting my pants other than that they were incorrectly worn. A user error on the pants, and they ripped in such a way that they were irreparable. I mean, it's quite nice to be able to say to your wife, "I've burst my pants." Obviously, that's quite a nice thing to go back into the house and say. But once I'd explained, there was no sort of. It wasn't in any way heroic. I don't think.
Don't you find over here the concept of I've realized one thing with the underpants over here. I haven't purchased underpants over here up till now. But if you were to purchase underpants over here, they kind of look shady. Like I've looked at some of the underpants. They don't look like very convincing. They don't look. I've yet to buy underpants over here because usually I've bought underpants in Canada. I've looked at them and I'm like, I don't know. I kind of like them, but the threading and stuff like that, it's not very convincing. It's where did you buy yours from?
Mo, from the cheapy Mo shop.
Mo shop?
From Mo, yes, M-O, Mo.
Who's Mo? What is Mo?
I explained all of that 5 minutes ago. Mo.
I know, but the thing is, I'm still trying to understand who's Mo. Is he like on top of continent?
I don't know why it's called Mo, because it's not just men's stuff. It's bargain stuff. And I don't know why it's called Mo. And it's quite good. If you're counting your pennies, it's a good place to buy some clothes.
Is there something like shady Sri Lankan guy selling you underwear? What's going on? Tell me.
It's fully legit. I don't know where you're trying to push me with this underpants thing, and I can't understand. I don't get it. Why you're upset about the stitching on Portuguese underpants? What's he talking about, Gary?
All you've got to do, Frank, all you've got to do is know that those underpants are now lying on the floor in tatters and looking like the starting grid of an F1 Grand Prix.
That's your favourite pair, right? Right there.
That's the one that really makes you cry. We got to say goodbye to them.
Yeah, and they're taken away from you by your partner or your wife or whatever. These really have to go. You will see these again as a duster.
Too bad to even be a duster.
Okay, not up to the job. Okay, yeah. Marty P will buy the second round. This is going very well tonight.
Very good. Thank you, Marty.
Eric is looking for a bit of a favour, I think, here. Which of you can I count on to find us a nice apartment when the time comes? Well, we've been drinking. All of us will say, hey, any of us, Eric, whatever. Yeah, you can count on us. Oh, there we go. When you ask...
Hey!
We may not remember, but yeah, seriously, Eric, the way to get apartments in Portugal, I think, is to know people. So yes, hit us up, as I think you American folks say.
Knowing us is really going to benefit you.
Honest, Frank may have more in common with the she shed and all his weeping. Oh, and I'm there too. You can't just.
Sensitive guy. What can I say, Charles? I'm a sensitive guy, man.
And here we go. No, is that Charles? I wonder. No, it's not an innuendo. It's just a suit made out of denim. Did you know that a Canadian tuxedo was a denim suit?
I didn't know that. We find different ways of embarrassing ourselves. I don't know if this is one of those ways.
I'm going to get some pictures of that up on the screen in just a moment. I really am. Because we want to see you in modelling that national look, Frank, at some point.
Yes.
If it's a suit made of denim, it's going to be not just double denim. If it's a 3-piece, it's going to be triple denim, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind wearing that. Actually, that's not bad. That's not bad. That's very Canadian. I think.
Yeah,
Benji, you're all right. I don't mind you.
There must be a Bryan Adams cover where he's got a Canadian tuxedo on, I guess, in his long career.
Has to be.
I figured out it would be lumberjack flannel.
Oh, come on. Give us some credit, man.
I have my funny hat on now. Can I join the live stream? Who is that? Yes, of course you can. Let's just get that link.
Of course you can.
We're wondering who that might. It's not Eugene with a funny hat on, is it?
You never know.
Eugene comes on. This is going to be amazing.
It's going to be amazing. I need a wee as well. That's what happens, isn't it? After a while. So
I'll go first, and then you come on.
I am the ugliest here, and I'm willing to fight to prove it. Okay. Let's just close the gap between us there, Gary. That's better, isn't it? What exactly makes a pair of underpants convincing, Frank? We'll ask him that when he comes back. I'll hold you to it with the apartment, Eric. Seriously, you can do. We will help you here as best we can, honestly. Not to get all serious, just out of curiosity, how long have each of you lived in Portugal, and how wide did you end up there? Good question, Eric. Do you want to go first, Gary?
How long have I've just done my first year here now, heading into the second one. But I've been here sporadically because my brother has lived here now for 12, 13 years. So over that amount of time, I've popped here and back to the UK on various visits. I always had the plan when I reached 55 that was it, come what may. I'd take the big jump and go for it. And I did. And haven't looked back, thoroughly enjoying it. Make new friends, new sort of ways of thinking, and just truly enjoying being me. To be honest, that's all I can say. If you're thinking about do it now, do it tomorrow, whenever, do it.
I think that covers it. Nice one as well, Gary. Well said. Me, 3 years now, just over 3 years, and it's flown by. It really has. How I got made redundant in the UK. I had been wanting to come to Portugal for 10 years at that point. First came over here in 2007, 2008, and I thought that was like, as a Brit, thinking, where do I go? I don't like the look of the way the UK is going. I want to go maybe to France or Spain, which is where a lot of Brits go. And then in a chance conversation, a vegan doctor, said to me, have you thought about Portugal? A lot of hippies in the UK are going to Portugal. And I'm slightly more of the hippie disposition, the homesteader type, off-gridder kind of vibe, although that didn't work out straight away here for us. And so I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. And I had a job at the time where I could work from anywhere, came over a couple of trips to Portugal, and I just squirreled that away as an idea. One day I will go to Portugal. Got married to the current Mrs. Munson, as I call her, and she really hates that, so I hope she's not listening. But our wedding present thing was like, please contribute to our Portugal fund. We want to go there one day. And people did, and then I got made redundant from my job, and it was like, okay, now's the time to do that. I think that is the how and the why there, Eric, for you. We're answering the question, Frank. You've got two questions to answer, actually. You've got what exactly makes a pair of pants, underpants, that is, because there's a distinction, obviously.
All right. I've got a very important question. Is because when you see the stitching on the underwear and you see like double stitching, you kind of know that they're firming things up. But when you see single stitching, you're kind of like, I think this is going to go to tatters. And I think this is exactly what happened to Mr. Munson over here. He bought like, what was that company's name that you bought? The underwear's from?
Mo. We're shaming Mo.
Mo, all right. So Mo let you down, and Mo has let all of us down. I think the one that I was looking at was probably Mo as well. I was not very impressed. So I was like, you know what? I need double stitching. Okay, moving right along, as if nothing has just been answered. Moving right along to the other question about moving over here. What we did? Who was that? Eric?
Yes, it was Eric.
Okay, Eric. Before we moved over here, what we did is we'd been traveling around quite a bit, and we wanted to move to Europe for a long time. We traveled. The wife and I. We traveled to Malta, we went to Greece, we went to quite a few places. We were very interested in moving over here, but we wanted to move to the mainland. And since my wife is Brazilian, it was very important that we moved to a place where at least one of us can communicate. And Portugal turned out to be a very, very good solution. We came over here. I've been here in mid '90s, and Portugal was not going through a very good time. When I came with the missus once or twice, it turned out to be a very good place, and we really appreciated it. We really liked it, and we were like, okay, we can make a life over here. We were not fully convinced, but we thought, you know what, let's give this a whirl, and it's turned out to be an amazing. It's turned out to be an amazing decision. I'll tell you one thing though. Adding to that, today I was on an expat group. I was having a conversation, and this is I gotta get this off my chest. When I was talking to the gentleman over there, and this is a group like from Coimbra, right? He was saying that, he was talking about, oh, a lot of people have been taken by their lawyers if they got a lawyer over here, or if they got someone representing them to get, the D7 visa or whatever it is, right? To come to Portugal. And my wife and I did that. And he said that I hope nobody paid this amount of money to come to Portugal. And I was just like, that's exactly what I paid. And he says, you got ripped off because it's like less than half of that, and it should not be. And I was like, while he was talking, I go, hold on for a second. You're telling me I got ripped off? I was like, he was like, yeah, you don't need to pay that much to do whatever. And I was just like, you know what? This is horrible. And then in my mind, I started thinking of the entire scam, right? To come over here. One of the things that happens coming to a country like this as a North American, and we're not naive, and we've had our businesses, we've done our thing over here. Coming over here, one thing that anyone who wants to come to these countries, what you have to understand is you have to use your good judgment, and I know everyone does their research. The problem that happens is, regardless of how much research that you do, one thing that you should be preparing yourself, and I prepared myself, I prepared the wife for this, is that we will take hits in the beginning. I don't know how it worked out for you, Carl. I don't know how it was for you in the beginning, Garvo, but we prepared ourselves for taking hits in the beginning because you're in a new culture, you're learning something new. And especially when you're dealing with lawyers, I've never liked the sight of lawyers because, they smell funny. And the other thing about them is that they charge you for things that, you don't understand, but you still pay them. And we ended up doing that. And I was not very convinced. And for everyone's benefit, if someone asks you for 6,000 euros to come and do your entire thing, I think you're getting ripped off. So please don't pay that much. There are other ways of going around it. We can suggest people who will get you someone who will not charge you that much. Apparently, this is what I found out today, and this is from today. So I was very upset for a bit, but then I was like, you know what, let's get over it. It's done. We've got our residence in Portugal now. We love this country. I don't want it to be about money, but this can happen over here as well. It's a wonderful country. This is not what the country represents, but there are obviously individuals like this in every country who will rip you off. So make sure you can do your research, but make sure that you understand whenever you come to a new country that you will take a hit or two somewhere along the line.
But that, that's interesting, Frank. But you are here now, aren't you? And that mission, that's a mission accomplished, isn't it? Based on that, paying that, getting that professional service. And there are people on the other side of this who would like to be here, who I think would pay 6,000 euros in a heartbeat just to have that done and have the process completed. So, and comparing it to other things, you wouldn't get much of a car for €6,000, would you, in Canada, for example? You don't get much of a house. You know, it's not. I don't think it's a massive amount of money in the scheme of things. And you are here now as a result of that. And I think in retrospect, always you can find that you could have potentially done it cheaper if you knew what you didn't know, all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
I would encourage you to be over it. And, you know, I think you've got good value. I think we've got good value that you're here. But yeah, and you're right. You know, if you talk to Frank now or to me, there are other people who we could suggest and who we know. But that's only because of our experience here. We couldn't have done that before we came here.
Folks, the thing is, one of the biggest ideas about coming to Portugal and coming to a wonderful place like this is you can be as well researched as you want to be.
Yeah.
The idea is that you can trust people and you can say, all right, well, this is what's happening. One of the shadiest things, I don't know if I told you guys about this, is that when we first came to see the lawyer last year, they immediately took us to a bank and they wanted us to open a bank account. We opened a bank account and it was at this bank called Millennium, and they opened they sent us to this specific branch with one of their representatives, and they made us open a Prestige account. Now, knowing all of us in like, you know, living in Canada, everywhere else, I've never had a Prestige or Privilege account. I don't care for these any of this nonsense. When we went in, they also wanted us to buy a healthcare. You know, like before the D7 visa, you have to buy healthcare for yourself, and they wanted us to buy the most expensive healthcare. And I said, you know what? No, we don't need that. We'll get the cheapest healthcare. And I later realized when we were over here, this country is so amazing. And this is the other part of it that you see when you live in this country, that you've got, once you come over here, once you get to live over here, like, you know, as soon as you get your, I guess your residence, you're part of the system. They make you part of the system. So you have healthcare over here. You don't have to pay for healthcare. You don't have to do any of that. I know, just like Canada, you will have to wait for certain things. We're happy to wait for it. It's an amazing country. You don't have to pay you don't have to pay expensive healthcare to live in this country. And this is the blessing of this country. So yes, I do believe that there are certain things that happen for a reason. I'm not fully convinced that everyone needs to go through the same experience that we did, and we're happy that we're here.
And you can call on us now. That's the thing. I think I speak on Frank's behalf. They talk to us. We are here. We have learned, and that's the whole thing. Certainly with Expats Portugal. And
yeah, dude, don't get ripped off. Talk to me. I will make sure that you don't get ripped off. We will make sure that you talk to a person who does not rip you off. The one thing is, once you've got somebody on the inside, like myself, Carl, Garvo, we can direct you to the right people.
Absolutely. And part of the problem, obviously, was Frank went dressed like this to his appointments, and they obviously thought this is a rich Canadian who's just turned up. This look, particularly here, that's a good one. That's the Canadian tuxedo with a couple of
Chuck Norris, man. Come on, give me a break.
All right, sorry. Maybe you went dressed like this. That's a bit more. Is that a Canadian tuxedo as well?
No, that's some chick who actually looks nice.
I'd do that.
No.
I would do that.
I think if Frank like that in denim, I'm going to have to come and have a look.
Yeah. So Frank walked into the bank dressed like this. Look at that 3-piece denim. And they must have thought, yeah, Prestige customer, definitely come through.
I hate. You know what? One of the things is I hate this Prestige and Privilege nonsense. I've always hated it. And one of the things that happens over here is that we always have to deal with an account manager, and I'm not happy with it at all. I want to have like a regular account where I can just go in and talk to anyone. This
you know what?
One of the bullshit nonsense that we had to deal with in the beginning, and I'm happy that we don't have to anymore.
An important thing here, right, is and we've got to keep perspective on this. Now, it's easy for us just to come here and you know, go here and get this and get that, but to your average Portuguese person, we are quite rich. We've got quite a bit of money, and they haven't. So if there's an opportunity to make some money, they're probably going to do it, and you can't blame them because you know it's a bit like when the food's
Garbo,
available.
I understand that, but at the same time, if we've made our money or whatever we've done in our lives, we've done it through hard work. It was never given to us, right?
Disputing that, mate. What I'm saying is that we don't have the perspective that actually when we come here, that most Portuguese people are quite poor. So we don't see that. We just they're nice people and this, that. But you got to understand what we've got is probably far in excess and what they've got. So you've got to just be a bit careful and you're just thoughtful about how you present.
You have to be a bit careful, but regardless of how careful you are, there's a chance that you will still get ripped off, regardless of how much research you get done. The positive thing is that once you come over here, once you become a part of the system, once you have amazing friends, like I have in front of my screen, the two amazing people that I've met, things become a bit easier. You get to see things for what they are. You understand what's going on in the country. You go and sit at a pub with two friends and you can have a drink and you don't pay the exorbitant amount that you might pay in a city like Lisbon. You might pay €2 for a drink or €1 for a drink or even 50 cents for a drink. So make this when you whoever wants to come to this country, make this about not about how much you're going to spend. Make this about the experience. I think this is what it boils down to, right?
Take your time. Take your time in what you're doing. Be thoughtful. Because they don't rush, and neither should you, to be honest.
But hurry up if you're thinking of moving from the UK.
Well, yeah.
I want to pitch a tent in Garvo and then bring a caravan. I see where that's going, Eugene. I'm so intrigued by you and your comments. I'm almost inclined to say yes to that. I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. The other Canadian uniform, of course, being referred to there. I love this comment. It's my ambition. This is from Andrew, our friend, our new mate in Australia, to sail from Australia when I turn 48 or 50 to stay and live a new life, a second chapter. You must speak to our colleague Neil. Neil went on a massive sailing expedition. Balance the Cat is his blog. He's going to tell us that story one day, but he was telling us the other night, wasn't he? There was a time when he was it 1,000 miles from anyone or anywhere else in his boat out at sea. They've been through. He was telling me.
It was getting a bit dramatic because he was falling asleep while he was telling us that. So it's like half of it was fact and half of it might be fiction. So we got to get Neil when he's full on. But Neil, my brother Neil, just like you guys, he is spectacular. But when I went to see him, one of the things that I realized, when you see someone and you meet someone in person and you've heard a few things about them and you find out this guy's a sailor, this guy loves to sail, this guy knows everything about boats, and he's been here and he's been there. You say to yourself, if you haven't done it yourself, you say to yourself, man, that's amazing. So yeah, Neil is the guy you need to get in touch with.
This was the story he was telling us about, where he got his wallet tangled around the propeller, and he had to free it with his bare hands.
Have you, Garvo? Have you met Neil?
Not in person. No, I mean with this bloody.
He's a wonderful personality. And one of the things that I realized one of the things that I want to tell the rest of the expats is that when you come to Portugal, you become part of a community of obviously expats. But one of the things that is always encouraged is to experience Portugal with the language. Funny enough, Garvo, do you know what happened to me today? I went on my own to the mall without a wife to return a shirt. Return a shirt.
Come on, tell us.
Oh yeah, so I went over there to return the shirt, and usually when I go to these places, the person immediately wants to speak English, and I tell them, please don't speak English, talk to me in Portuguese because I want to be able to talk to you in the language. And she spoke to me in Portuguese, and man, it was such a victory thing when you start understanding the language after a few months. You know, you're like, I am getting it. This is good. If we can just exchange this a bit within the next year or two, I'd be able to experience the language, and I'd be able to um, have a proper conversation. I think it will be amazing. I see a lot of prospects. I was telling the wife today that if I'm allowed on my own to stroll around town, I would learn Portuguese much better, because I don't want somebody ordering my what's that dessert, the natas and all that kind of stuff. I want to order it myself, even though she has offered for me to do it myself. I'm just like, nah, you're with me. You might as well order it, because you know you're going to get a better deal than me, anyways.
It's a great moment, isn't it, Frank, when you've breached the gap and they understand you, and it's a moment of like jubilation almost that you've finally got through, and you know you've made a step forward, and it's a lovely thing. And a similar thing with me today in Leroy Merlin. There was a guy, he didn't speak much English, and obviously I don't speak much Portuguese, but we got there in the end, right? And I was so pleased because it was a really nice chap, a really nice, helpful chap, as most of them are. And then just from nowhere, and from my memory, I remember the phrase, and it'll probably abandoned me now. It was "Obrigado pela sua ajuda," and he looked like,
What a
wow,
rock star!
he was so happy. He sort of grabbed me on the shoulder and patted me on the back and said, like, you know, get on there. I thought, well, and it was just one of those lovely things where you think, I've actually took a step forward. I've progressed down that track.
Yeah,
And
but
it is,
Garvo, I'm very proud of you. Isn't that amazing? This is what the Portuguese experience is meant to be for us, right? We're
yeah,
supposed to come over here, and we're supposed to speak the language, and we're supposed to integrate very well. And this is what we're doing. I'm very proud of you.
it is the toughest thing. It's the probably the most toughest thing is the language here. Most other things are doable. The language is one of the hardest ones I've ever come across, to be honest.
Hello, Victoria.
Special welcome to Victoria from Frank there.
Yeah.
We've got a few comments to catch up on, but I also, yes, the language thing. I was in the Coimbra. There are two great shopping centres there, the Alma Centre and the Coimbra Forum. And sometimes I have those lovely moments that you mentioned there, Gary, where you break the language barrier and you really feel a sort of heartfelt bond between you and the person you're speaking to. But I lost
Yes.
it. I was in the gents' toilet, and I could hear a woman outside saying something like, "Okay, okay, tabain, tabain," and I was just coming out, zipping up flies, and it was the cleaning attendant wanting to come in, but just checking that there were no fellas in there. And I came out, and I was really flustered, and I didn't know. I was saying, yeah, it's empty. No, desculpa, no fala português. Tabain, tabain, tabain. And eventually we got there. It was fine. But it's those moments when you're a bit sort of pushed off your balance and you can't quite recall the words. But other
Yeah, but
times,
Carl, one thing I've noticed, and I know you've told me this, that you're very good. You've got a very good language skill set, anyways. What happens is a lot of people, and a lot of people from North America, I know, when they come over here, they're very shy to express themselves. I This is one of the things that I always encourage people. You put yourself in the situation where you're going to be in trouble. By trouble, what I mean is that you don't know what you're going to do, but when you put yourself in that situation, you'll learn something from it. I did today, because I went over there to return a shirt, and I was like, devolus. Over there it said troca or devolução, right? So it basically means either you want to exchange or you want your money back. And the first time I miscommunicated and I said troca. So I went over there to this counter and the girl said, do you want to, like, do you want change? And I was like, no, devolver, because in my mind the term was devolver. And I think it's so amazing when you can put your point across and you're like telling the person that, I just want my refund. And you want to do it in Portuguese. You don't want to do it in any other language. I think it works very well. It was big victory today.
I thought for a moment there, Frank, that you were going to say that the shop assistant said, "Here, your friend was in here the other day trying to bring some underpants back."
Yes.
I want to hear it when Frank's taking his pants back, and they've been worn 3 times, but they're not up to his standard, and he's just trying to do that in Portuguese.
Double stitching anyway.
What is double stitching in Portuguese? That's a good plan. Learn Portuguese by chatting up the ladies. I think
what's up with the stitching, ladies?
It needs to be. You do need an incentive, and if that's the one, then fair enough. Okay, let's backtrack a bit with these wonderful comments from people. I think Eric was happy with the service tonight. We'd be there tomorrow if we could. Thanks for your responses. We'll be there as soon as we possibly can. Promise, Eric. Yeah, we'll do all we can to help you. Loving the vibe here. There's a lot of people helping people. Really, it's the way forward. Going back to the kind of legal thing. And I've got this wrong trying to work out how to say people's names, and often with a username it's a bit more difficult. But I think, are we going to go with Sephiro here? Sephiro, let's do that. Sephiro. Hi all. First time Portuguese. Question for Frank: what happened to you? Was it with a Portuguese lawyer? I think maybe
it wasn't a Portuguese lawyer. It was Sephiro. It was a Portuguese lawyer. And they basically did a lot of shady things, and we've just been realizing right now that we've been ripped off throughout the entire thing. We are here now. My wife and I are very happy to live over here, but we did not expect this kind of treatment. So, things happen in life. You got to take your losses and you got to move on.
True. But can I clarify that? Did you get ripped off or did you get overcharged? I mean, there is a subtle distinction, isn't there?
No, this is ripped off, because some people told us there's a big difference between 500 euros and $6,000. 6,000 euros.
Okay, all right, fair enough. We've got some interesting questions coming in. Can you explain the gypsy culture in Portugal? I hear it's a dangerous element of the country, or is that an urban legend? I think that's overblown personally, but also it obviously depends on your personal experience. Let's come back to that, because there's a few people who've dropped in to say hi. We've already seen, Victoria Benson. Hi from Atlanta. Good evening to you, Victoria. There's a lot of speculation, especially in the house market, for example, in city centres like Lisbon and Porto. House prices have been going up, even in lockdown, all to do Airbnb and foreigners. Yeah, this is a problem. It needs to be balanced in favour of the locals, is my view on that. But then again, I'm not a massive property speculator. I might have a different view if I was investing in property. But I can virtue signal and be very worthy about this, because it's not as like I'm putting loads of money into the property market. The link from Neil, I've just tried to find it. He did say to me it's balance the cat, as in catamaran, or balancing the cat. I can't find it on an initial search. But Neil's in our community. Just get involved in Good Morning Portugal, expatsportugal.com, and you'll find Neil eventually, or you'll track it down.
Charles? If it's Charles, I'll get you the information. Just ask me for the information. I'll send it to you.
You'll connect them up. Fantastic. It's a common thing. Younger people tend to ease conversations, since Portuguese itself isn't an easy language to begin with. And a lot of people do want to speak English, don't they? Here, so they will. I mean, a lad did that to me today. I stepped up to get some food in the food court, and he talked to me in English straight away. And I said, "How do you know I was English?" He said, "I could just hear your accent with your Portuguese." So that wasn't so great. And it was just, I had a really nice chat with him. And sometimes people they give you a bit of tuition as well if they can speak English.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You tell me how to say that in Portuguese. Often have a lot of fun with that.
This is exactly my point. It's a wonderful country to be in. Once you are here, once you're doing your thing, obviously people are amazing and people accommodate. And if you are thinking about something, people are very nice and they're very generous. And everything is amazing. These kinds of things will happen anywhere in the world, guys. What I'm basically saying is that this happened over here, and it happened. We are here, and we are very happy to be here. We're past it. The one thing that you have to understand is you have to do a little bit of research. Even though you do your research, remember bad things can happen anywhere.
Of course. And Eugene is finally giving up joining us because his Wi-Fi is terrible. He's taken off his balaclava. He's sweltered that he's had on all evening. The leather didn't help. The leather balaclava. Try wool next time. Is my recommendation. Not from my own experience, obviously. Everything's fine, Cefaro, as long as you don't say we are Spanish. Never do that.
No, never. I would never do that.
Mirth and merriment from Victoria. And this is a question David asks us from time to time. We still have no news on this, David. And I think, Americans aren't really thinking about this at the moment, are they, in terms of negotiating with the Portuguese or anyone else around the world about opening up borders? We can't answer that at the moment. I'm really sorry. And you'll be the first to know on our pages when we do find out. You guys are just out here having a laugh. Absolutely.
Exactly, Victoria.
We haven't promised anything else ever. And that is what we do. You're very welcome, Victoria. It's not a gentleman's club. Well, it is in a way, but all are welcome. It's the vibe. We don't exclude anybody. It's not exclusive. But there's a particular vibe which you like or you don't like, a bit like Marmite. So Portugal, sorry for the nickname. It's a gamers thing. Oh, I see. I thought it was something to do with the immigration, SEF, for CEF. And it was somebody from CEF making sure we were kosher immigrants into Portugal. But no, they were probably
kosher, CEF guy.
First to say, Gary is a great example of the man of reason.
Oh, yes, that's a bit tall, isn't it?
Is this with or without his hat? I need to know this.
Yes, wow. The man of reason. There you go.
What that means.
On the gypsy culture topic, I find it really depends on where you live. Yes, of course. I think you'll get a different experience, won't you, in the bigger cities for sure. And search the Canadian dude's basement. You'll probably find an emaciated Neil in a box somewhere. So,
Eugene, why are you fascinated with Neil? What do you want to do with Neil? What is the intention here? Eugene, I'm really, really curious now.
Okay, so let's go back to this. It's an awkward subject, isn't it, with gypsy culture? I mean, it's a sort of tired old thing around the world, isn't it? And I prefer, rather than pontificate too much, speak from my own experience. I got to own up to the fact I'm fascinated by gypsy people. I really am. Always have been.
I have been too. You and I have another thing in common, Carl.
Yeah, and the way of life. What I see as the being outside a culture and how much that upsets people inside the culture. And it's an ongoing relationship, isn't it? The outliers, the people out on the outside trying to make a living, not want to live by society's rules. And for that, I take my hat off to those folks, if that's what they are doing. And obviously, you can't make massive generalizations about a whole culture. There'll be good and bad people, as there are in every walk of life. For me personally, when I see gypsy people at the supermarket, I stop and talk. And if they want money, I give them some money. In fact, tonight I was at a supermarket, and there was a gypsy woman there selling baskets, beautiful hand-woven baskets. I have no idea if she made them herself. My romantic vision is that her and her family are sat around a fire making baskets. She might have bought them from a Chinese shop and put a massive markup on them. But I was talking to her, and I was saying, no fala português, when she was talking to me full on in Portuguese. And fair play to her, when she came out, she just cut straight to the chase and said, 5 euros for a basket, and held it up. I could understand that. And I said, yeah, I'll take one. And it was beautiful. And, I engage, I don't like to be the person who just, it would appear other people think gypsies, I'm not talking to them, they shouldn't be here, blah, blah, blah. I do that differently. And
we can't have that attitude. We really, really cannot have that attitude. The problem is that remember, I've told you guys that when I used to live in London, I used to manage 4 or 5 stores across London, and these gypsy guys used to come And you used to see these Romanian gypsies. They used to come with this like credit card, and the name on the card would be John Lewis. And the guy would bring the credit card to you, and they'd be like, "I want to buy this," and you'd be like, "So what's your name again? Spell your name." And then I would take the credit card from the person, and the person would be like, I'd be like, "Spell your last name," and the person, and I'd be like, "I'm sorry, it's not your last name. I can't do this." And by the time I would like go back to the back of the store, I really used to really feel bad for this person, because I know that it was stolen, but I knew that what they were doing was they were trying to feed their family, or they were trying to live a life that is that is not provided to them by the system. Right? They're illegal
Yep.
in the system, and our system does not provide for certain people who live under the bridge, for certain people who are unknown. They don't have an address. And this is one of the things that our system will never address. All the elections, everything else, we never talk about populations that are unaccounted for. When you talk about the population of Canada, or let's say population of the United States or the UK, these kinds of individuals are considered, sadly, the scum of the earth. And it's a very sad situation to be that. I don't want us to be that. I don't want us as human beings to be that. It's because we are better than that, right? We can do much better.
Yeah, and I think if someone's got the guts to stand outside a supermarket and ask for money, you can probably give them a bit of money, right?
No, not all the time though, Carl. You know what? Sometimes if it's a guy who's had a nice shave, who's sitting in the corner, and who's like looking at you and saying, "Hey, Frank, what's going on? Can you spin me a few?" And you're like,
Yeah,
"No, no, buddy, this is not happening today. It's not happening on my." But the thing is, if it's like, you know the type. You see a person and you say, "You know what? I don't know. This is the person who needs it." I don't know how we assign that kind of donation to that individual,
exactly.
but
It's
I
an
don't
emotion.
know.
It's an emotional thing, isn't it? Because if you're in Lisbon and you get accosted by like a group of women with pictures of kids, and it feels like they're doing a number on you, even then I'll give them some money. But I feel like this is pretty high pressure, and they're probably being pressured to do it, and all. If you start thinking about it, you don't know what is the right and wrongs of it, and it's like, well, it's not the end of the world to give someone €1, is it, or whatever. And that's the world we live in. And I don't know.
Well,
You can't.
in Canada, if you were to give, because $1 is called a loonie, and $2, like we've got $2 coins, which are called two, right? So if you were to give 25 cents to a beggar in Canada right now, they'd flip it right back to you. They'd be like, you are an embarrassment to humanity. Why would you give me 25 cents? I demanded a toonie." And you're like, what is going on in this world? You're asking for a toonie, dude? What is wrong with you?
Well, fair enough. And all you can do is make a bit of a call. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong with this. I don't think it's black and white. And you
No,
can't
you're
make
good. You're just a very generous, good person, and I think that we should all be this way. The thing is that sometimes the way that we think, the way certain things have been burnt into us, we look at life a certain way, and we just go, "You know what? He looks like a crackhead. I'm not going to give him any money." And then you say to yourself, and then you walk past and you just go, "Oh, maybe he just wanted something to eat." You're such an asshole. And then you killed yourself the entire day. You were just like, you called him a crackhead and you did not give him that money. You know what? This is what also happens to you. It's the
You know,
first world guilt that also kills us.
you put something down there, Frank, that is just so true in human nature, and unfortunately, I see time and time again. It's the fact when you get somebody come from a different sort of or a different sort of background, and the population are not used to it. In some way, they find it threatening because they can't understand it and can't deal with it. So one of the first paths they take is to go on the attack. They don't sort of say, okay, let's talk about this and let me understand. Because they're not used to it, it presents therefore a threat to them. And the first thing they do is try and deride it or attack it and make it some sort of thing that it's not. And how many times do you see that in life? How wrong is that really, that we can treat another human being like that?
Yeah, well, true. You know, I posted that picture up yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, of some kids in 1954 who it was or maybe a couple of days ago for bonfire night. And there's, you know, Guy Fawkes is being used as a symbol of rebellion now, right, in the UK. And the, you know, the Guido Fawkes mask, and I could see people on Facebook saying, yeah, you know, he was right. It's a shame he got rumbled and all this sort of stuff. And it is funny how we can arrange our thoughts, because he had a murderous intention, didn't he? But because that seemed to be okay in line with some of the political beliefs we have, it's kind of okay. And I was, you know, sort of bringing what the reason I posted that photo was like, these are children of 5 and 6 who are being brought up by their parents to burn effigies of people. And I'm thinking, that's interesting. That's interesting that adults are saying to kids, let's make effigies of people and burn them on top of a bonfire once a year. If we saw that in a different culture out of the context we know, we would think that's pretty sick, wouldn't we? We were thinking that's indoctrination, that's evil, nasty behavior, conditioning in a very unfortunate and unpleasant way. Yet when it's our own bonfire night tradition, it's fine. It's a weird thing. I think it connects to what you're saying there.
It's just conditioning, isn't it? Because you're brought up with it, you don't really think about it, and it's just, for you, it's something that's probably sort of etched into your mind as a bit of a celebration and a bit of, you know, the bonfire, the fireworks. You don't really think about what it's about. But when you come to look at it, it's pretty dark stuff. You know, when you look at the history of it, it's about you know, religion, for one type of religion trying to wipe another strand of religion out, and you know, the all powerful then taking the other part of the religion and, you know, punishing it.
Yep, absolutely. So it's worth a second look, isn't it? It's worth a second look, and you know, a euro, €2 is not the end of the world. Is it? If someone asks you for it, and also it depends on you find there are civilized and there are others are not. Portuguese aren't saints either, but it's all due to our history and some difference how we assimilate other ethnicities. Which, on balance, to me, Sefiro, I think you're doing a great job as Portuguese people, and absolutely right. It's easy to kind of for us to eulogize, isn't it, the Portuguese culture because we're so happy about being here, and obviously there are exceptions to that. Yeah. And you know. But on balance, it seems like a pretty cool culture you guys have created here that we're enjoying. So we thank you for that.
It's not only an amazing culture. What I kind of find is that there are a lot of, I know human beings are the same everywhere, but there are a lot of kindred spirits. You know, when you talk to people, when you're like around with people. Remember when I came to see you, Carl, the lady who was over there, the Canadian lady who's your landlord. When we had that lengthy conversation with that wonderful lady, she's like pretty much the grandma over there, and you know, you find that in certain cultures, in certain places, people take the opportunity to get to know you. They want to find out what's going on. Funny enough, our neighbor upstairs who makes so much noise because she loves to wear her heels, and like, you know, every day you can hear her all the time. And the other day we were coming back up, and I think I posted this picture to you guys. She gave us like a bottle of gingina, and she gave us a bottle of like something else that her dad makes, the aguardente. And I don't think it was bribe for keep listening to my high heels banging on your ceiling kind of deal. It was just a good neighborly thing, man. I appreciate these kinds of things, and that's why I love this country. I have lived in Canada, in North America. I've lived in the UK, and sometimes you don't get to know your neighbor. You've been living over there for 2 years or 3 years. You never get to talk to your neighbor for the longest time if you're living in an apartment. And over here, it does not work that way. You get to know your neighbors, your next door neighbors, you will see them on a regular basis. We're in a big city, so we don't have a big relationship with our neighbors. But that's why we want to move to a smaller town, so we can get to know the neighbors, and then I can ask the neighbors for Carl Manson what kind of underwear he can buy. Like something with double
No,
stitch.
that's right, and they'll know, won't they? Know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I want to make sure.
I want to join the Zoom meeting wearing one of my jaunty chapeaux.
There you go, Victoria.
We're open to that, and I've posted the link for you to do such a thing if you wish. I don't know if you were joking or if you want to join us. Unconscious bias, yeah, someone's saying that's part of it. I shudder to think of the things Eugene has been conditioned to think are normal. What's going on? And Eugene has a comment for us. You were overly friendly with Neil. He's not letting it lie. The last time we saw him, it was like guidance sniffing children. I have nothing against coessential interaction, but Neil looked uncomfortable, and now he's missing.
Oh, Eugene. The time I see you, brother, it's going to be a good time. But make sure you don't come with that doll, because I will interview it.
It could get nasty, couldn't it? Or awkward, I suppose, rather than nasty. It's definitely the hat that makes you the man of reason, Garvo, tonight. Are you a little bit concerned now, Gary? Do you think Eugene has planted a seed of doubt in your mind and my mind that Frank may have done it with the lead piping in the library with Neil?
Well, I mean, he does look a bit shifty, doesn't he? Let's be honest. How Eugene's mind works is a whole nother story, really, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Eugene has the mindset of what I love about Eugene is that he's got like the concentration camp mindset. I love it. He's got like there's someone who's going to get shot at any time. I would love to know what kind of childhood Eugene has had, because it will explain a lot of things. No?
This is in our therapy section.
Let's think about it, right? Eugene's lived in Northern Ireland, right? So he has to develop survival humor, and that's what you see him doing there.
He's wonderful. He's a wonderful guy. I love Eugene. I love Eugene. Eugene, I love you.
David, I do answer your question every time you ask it. I just don't know the answer. That's the problem. If you mean why can't I answer your question, it's because
what was his question, Carl?
When can Americans come to Portugal?
Oh, it all depends on when everything opens up. One of the things that I was hearing today was that people who are flying from the United States, sometimes they take a flight to Germany before coming over here, and they get stopped in Germany because they have other laws over there. So no one can determine how you can fly over here. It depends on your flight. If you're taking a direct flight to Portugal, please make sure to read what happens over here. You obviously have to have your COVID thing, your test done, so you can show it over here. I think there's the 14-day quarantine thing as well, right, Carl?
I don't know the official answer to that on a day-to-day basis, but the American embassy will, for sure.
Okay.
And I can't say when you can come. It is completely beyond. I can't decide that. I know you can't at the moment, and I think it's true what Frank says is that in these situations, people are thinking of other ways of doing it, obviously, and one way of interpreting the situation at the moment is that certainly some people seem to be taking the view now that if it's a life decision rather than a holiday or a research trip, if you're moving here, that is a powerful case for being here and making the journey. Whether or not it works, I can't tell you that, David. I really can't. I don't know how that's going to end up. It's like the reality of life, isn't it? If you know what the conditions are technically, that doesn't mean that's how it's going to end up. If you talk to an immigration official when you come through immigration, for that matter, for us expats here in Portugal, if we get stopped on the move in a car and we're driving into a particular municipality that has a different set of laws or measures to us, the thing is so grey at the moment. All you can do is make your best and most educated guess and apply your whichever level of personal commitment and drive and enthusiasm you want to this. Black and white is disappearing from this picture, I suppose, is what I'm saying. It's getting very grey. You've got to do your research. And if you feel moved to take some sort of drastic action, then I can understand that. But officially, there is no open door at the moment. And we don't know when that's going to be opened.
David, to help my buddy Carl out, what he's basically saying is when you come over here and whatever you decide to do, you first have to get all your information together before you come over here. You need to understand and you need to read up. If it's a direct flight coming in to, let's say, Lisbon, Porto, or Faro, please make sure that you read up on what happens, what will happen if you go to a Portuguese port directly. If you go to Germany or if you go to Switzerland, they've got their own laws before you come over here. So please make sure to read up on everything. Carl Munson knows a lot of things. He knows about underwear sizes, but he will not be able to tell you about immigration and how quickly you'll be able to come over here and how long you'll have to be in quarantine. Just make sure to read up on the information because Carl Manson is a wise guy, but he can't give you that information.
And your government is telling you not to travel at the moment. There's nothing I or we can do about that, David. But we do wish you the best and keep tuned in. Go on, Gary.
Okay, it's going to be serious, Gaz, now for a minute.
Go on.
I think this COVID thing, right? We're missing the point. And I thought about this earlier today. We've been so divided on so many different things, politics, race, rich, poor, whatever, right? But this is the one thing that affects us all. So the key in this, right, is actually us not bickering about it and not trying to prove one point or the other. Is for once in our goddamn lives, we come together and beat this thing together. And we're all going to suffer one way or another. We're going to lose money, or we're going to lose people, or whatever, right? But as a human race, this is the one thing we can actually do together, that will prove that being together actually achieves something, and there is something worthwhile in the world. And for God's sake, we've got to do something, and this is where we could start.
Well said, Garvo. I'll tell you one thing, Garvo, to back up on what you're saying, is that we have, if this is a platform or any other platform, what we need to be able to work with and what we need to be able to, the message that we want to send out there is when people come to a country like Portugal or wherever they want to come to, if they feel that they're escaping from someone or something, you can never escape from yourself. Do you know what I mean? One thing that will never happen is you can never escape from yourself. Whatever is going on internally, you will never escape from it. Portugal is an amazing country. I love it. We all love it. You can move over here. You can do a lot of things. You can get the D7 visa. Don't get ripped off. Don't pay $6,000 to a shyster lawyer. But make sure to do your due diligence about lifestyle. The most important thing is if you are moving, like let's say, remember Carl, we were having this conversation with Charles the other day, and I hate to bring Charles up, but the thing is we were having this conversation that your entire opinion about lifestyle and what you're moving to is a big deal because Portugal is I don't know. You cannot put, it's a free country. It's not about, a lot of people will say, oh, it's a socialist country or there are commies in the thing. It's not one of those countries. I think it's a wonderful country. But the problem is that what you are perceiving from outside might not be true. So do your research. I think that's the most important thing to do. There are many places in Europe that might suit your needs. Portugal for us was amazing. It might not be for everybody else. So make sure when you come over here, ask us, meet us. If you want to meet us, we're happy to meet you. We'll get together for a drink too. Carl maybe for a few more drinks. And Garvo will look over there with that at you with that hat, and he'll be like, "What do you want next, mate?" And then there'll be me. Hey, listen, man, we'll go skinny dipping together. I am telling you that this is a wonderful country. If you want to come over here, you will love it.
Gary, what has Frank just put us in for there?
Well, I know skinny dipping. Mine's very open-ended by the sound of it, and you're completely.
So
you're up there.
You're the man of reason. I'm completely drunk, and Frank is taking them skinny dipping. I mean, who could possibly who could refuse a date like that? David, we've put the connection in there to a migration specialist for you. So that's in the comments. Should you want it, and you're letting us know, and this is thoroughly recommended in this crowd. I was married to a Brazilian woman. I think Frank can.
Oh, very good for you.
Yeah, and he already speaks Portuguese. There was a question actually about Portuguese earlier on. Let's just go back to that about Duolingo. Here we go. Excuse me. Duolingo only has Brazilian Portuguese, and I'm concerned this will be a problem in terms of cultural acceptance, or is that not a big deal? No, learn European Portuguese. Go to our link with Mia Esmirej. I'll put that link in for you as well in just a moment. Best to learn European, not Brazilian Portuguese. Quite honestly, that's what I hear over and over again. And I think we're having a little bit of reparation and hands across the Atlantic here. Oh, hold on, David just wants to start enjoying his life. David, I think you got to start that. Yeah, start that where you are, and then bring it with you. Don't put it on hold for Portugal. Start it where you are and bring it with you.
Just don't be like Eugene.
No, look, don't say that. Look, that's poor timing. Canadian dude, you are a heckin' legend, he says to you. And I think
Eugene, finally you realize what time it is.
You know what time it is. 20 years ago, I tried to escape while I was by. Followed me, says Eugene as well. He also says to you, Gary, you're getting a lot of adulation tonight. Gaz is a true gentleman. Much respect. And that was, I think, because of what you said about COVID. Gary, the man of reason. Case closed. Check you out. And my responsibility is to get rid of COVID. Yep, no problem. I'll see what I can do with that. My suggestion, also contact the Portuguese consulate to see what their expectation is of you as an American. I trust I have not offended, says Eugene. What makes you think that? An email address guarantees a reply about spud juice, Canadian dude, Carl Gaz. And eventually, when he gets round to it or sobers up or whatever that might be. And Eric says, you find experienced expats need to create a transitional handbook that the rest of us can follow, at least initially, please. Thanks for staying on so long tonight. We really have 2.5 hours, fellas. I wanted to, if I may, and this is on the matter of COVID. I wonder what you think about this. Thank you, says David. Facebook user says you look an awful lot like Cheech. I don't know who's saying that, and that is just the level of familiarity we have around here. I do hope you're not offended by that, and you take that in the way it was intended as a bit of a giggle. So, on a more serious note, man caver Hendrik, as some of you know him now. This is the news from the UK today, which I'm very saddened to see. Are you guys all right for a sort of 10 minutes more?
Yeah, come on in.
I'm good. I'm good. Garvo is as well, I think.
Well, let's just check with him. How are you doing, Gary? You can have a little snooze under your hat. Okay, good. So this is you'll have seen if you've been on our early wine clubs, man cave sometimes. This is a GoFundMe. Nina and Henry own a gym, PB Gym, an independent gym in Teignmouth, Devon, and their gym is a community. Some people see it as an extension of their family, and one of the biggest reasons people use our gym is to support their mental health and well-being. The recent lockdown announcement has sent shockwaves through our PB. It's personal best, I think that stands for. But anyway, let's just call it PB family. We feel that the short and long-term implications of the loss of gyms have not been fully considered by the government. We know that mental health is a huge factor in supporting physical health, and in closing gyms and leisure facilities, the mental well-being of the nation will suffer greatly. It is a difficult decision for us to make, to ask you for help when everyone else is facing a bleak winter. We would hugely appreciate it if you could make a donation to help keep us open. We're not asking for membership fees during lockdown periods, but this means we will struggle to pay our overheads. In the longer term, we could close permanently, like so many gyms across the country. We must stand together and try everything we can to continue to offer a service. So many people have asked us to stay open as they see us as their lifeline. We want to be able to support them as best we can. We are not asking for you to help with anything other than meeting our ongoing costs. No wages will be taken, and this will be verified by our accountant. Any money raised above our costs will go to support local mental health charities and organisations in their area. Okay, so this is what they've done to continue to stay open. They've gone for this GoFundMe approach and have reframed themselves as a mental health support community. They are essentially what looks like a gym, but instead of running as a gym business, they've reframed themselves as a community mental health support, which obviously a lot of their community want. To add to that, so don't donate necessarily now, because I don't know what the relevance now of the GoFundMe. The reason I'm sharing this is because they found out this afternoon, after a long meeting with their local environmental health, that they are being closed down. Now, I just wanted to share that with you because I think it sucks. I really do. And I just think there are different bites. Notwithstanding what you're saying, Gary, I do agree that we have it within us to find a way to unite and work together as human beings to deal with this situation. But I think shutting down a gym is not the way forward, especially when they've done what they can there to stay open as a resource to the community from a mental health point of view. They're not taking wages even. They just want to meet their costs to stay open. And then they have a meeting with the council today who shut them down. This is where I struggle. I don't know what the answer is. I really don't, because I agree with you, Gary, completely that it will be the making of us, won't it, to unite as human beings and get through this. It will be the undoing of us not to do that, won't it? That's the way things are going. It'll be the making of us to unite and deal with it. But there are so many other signs of it being the undoing of us, because people can't agree on what seems sensible and make sense of the measures and all that sort of thing. So I wanted to put that out there. And we need to find out from Henry and Nina if they do need our support and how they're going to do that, because presumably that to GoFundMe is no longer appropriate. But that hit me hard tonight, and I just wanted to share that with you, just to let you know what's going on in the UK. It stinks as far as I can see.
And it looks like one thing that I don't understand about these governments is that if you are going to have restaurants open where people can go and have a drink and have some food to eat and whatever, and they can remove their masks, what kind of problem are you going? Well, the gym that I go to over here, one of the things that happens is, well, it's a big. You can see that it's a big company, right? They've spent a lot of money on like these small compartments where you can work out and you can do all these kinds of things. But what happens to people who are running like small operations? Do they go and die? Do they go and curl up somewhere? What do you want from them? Do you not want them to exist? Is this the idea where the little guy goes somewhere and is never to be found? It's horrible. It's really, really, we don't want societies to be this way, right, guys? This is horrible. This is hideous. Things need to change in our society. I don't know. I don't know. They might have their own reasons for shutting down gyms, but I don't know, the gym that I'm at, you've got like when you're in the elliptical machine, you're in like in this little cube and you're working out and you do your thing and then you go to every machine that you use, you clean it up and you do your thing. I don't know. What is the other expectation you want from the little guy, man? Like these people are trying to run small businesses and it's all about health.
Yeah.
I think it's good for human beings. It's good for mental health as well. I feel so bad for Henry and Nina. This is horrible.
Yeah, and I saw a video this morning of the West End of London. This guy, he's a YouTuber, and he filmed his trip into London, and he was going around Covent Garden, all the areas you know, Frank. You used to work in the West End of London, didn't you?
I
And
used to.
it is absolutely pitiful. These so many shops have closed down, businesses of all kinds. It's not like they can suddenly be reopened. The phrase that occurs to me is not like new normal. It's like no normal. It's done. What we knew before this is done. So we do
Yeah.
have to start again. We do. There's this big reset thing, which I'm deeply suspicious of. But the word's right. We will have to reset and reconsider. And I'm all for what Gary's saying is that we need to do this on a grassroots, man to man, woman to woman, person to person level. It can't only be led by governments. It has to be all of us, I think, taking some part in this. If we leave it only to governments deal in big numbers. They don't know you as an individual. They will do things based on spreadsheets and on data. You can't you can't relate to people as numbers and expect it to end well. So we do have to step up, I think, as people and say, look, okay, we've all got this. We can all be a part of this. We need to know all the information, and we can make decisions. Because you have to let people make decisions. I think ultimately, because we're doomed anyway if you don't.
Yeah, but Carl, one of the biggest problems that has happened in the past, at least the past 2 decades, is governments have failed us. So we don't trust them, right? We don't trust them with anything. And especially the governments that we have on right now. It's sad the situation that we are in the world where the biggest world power is having problems with its election process. Meanwhile, it goes everywhere else to Bolivia and everywhere else and sends people over there to monitor their elections. So like it's a we're in very difficult, horrible situation. Credibility has been smashed to bits. Nobody has any credibility. This started, unfortunately, this started because we started getting people into the bloodstream of politics who did not want to serve people. They just wanted to do their own thing. Unfortunately, this is the result of something that happened 20 or 30 years ago. We as Western societies have not been able to recover from it. We have our priorities are wrong. We need to get our priorities right. We need to have certain priorities that fit within the realm of what we are as human beings, which is we want to give and we want to be communities with each other. The problem is the governments are not hearing it. And we continue to go and vote for them because we feel it's our civic duty to do that. However, this is what we've been taught. However, it's the wrong thing to do because we're propagating another government, another system that will not serve us. I don't know the answer to it, but this is the mess that we're in.
Gary, I'm sure you've got more to add to that.
It's a very, very large spectrum question, isn't it? I mean, whichever way you look at it, we're all in this together. And how do we help each other? Instead of thinking singly as how is this affecting me, we've got to look at each other and say, how can I help you and how can you help me? because whenever we've been through a major sort of trauma in the world, whether it be a war or whatever, we only really got through by helping each other.
Yeah.
We never just gone singular and say, well, I can't do that because, it affects me. And this is what we've been like Frank said, over the past 30 years, we've become self-absorbed with what affects us.
Yeah.
And we don't live in this world on our own. We live on a planet full of so many billion people. And, what we do affects everybody else and vice versa. So let's leave the singular thought alone and look at the bigger picture and say, look, I can do this. You can do this. Let's put our heads together and see what we can do. And Henry there is obviously is in trouble, and he's not. God bless him. He's not proud enough to turn around and say, "Look, I need this to survive." Now, if each one of us watching this program at this moment sends €1 in, right, that might just keep him open and keep him fed and keep him going for another week, 2 weeks, or whatever. But that means pretty little to us. €1 or a pound or whatever you put in, that means nothing to us. But it could mean, the life
But
for him.
here's the problem. Here's the problem, Garvo. We'll probably take care of it for 1 month or 2 months, right? There is no long-term solution to these things. It's what we need to find in our societies is a solution, a long-term solution to the problems that we are facing. It's the people that we elect. It's not a popularity contest. What are we doing as far as our elected officials are concerned? We need to take it more seriously. People have not been taking it seriously. It's a popularity contest. It's who's it's like looking at your real estate agent. We have to start looking at things more practically. We have a guy like, and I hate to bring this example up, a guy like Corbyn in the UK system has been maligned. He has been his reputation has been desecrated. This man, with such huge honor, has been destroyed by the system because they wanted to achieve a certain thing. And look at where the UK is. It's horrible, man. We can't have this happen on a regular basis. Decent people cannot have their clothes taken off like this in society. This is horrible.
Frank, you're right, because the problem here, and we fell for the oldest trick in the book. We fell for divide and conquer, right? People have put little things out there to make us fight each other. And while we're doing that, we don't hold the people to account who all this problem boils down to, the poverty and the race riots and everything. They're not accountable because it's just covered in a whole mist of us fighting each other and getting angry and getting nowhere. And in that atmosphere, they can do what they like. They can do what they like. Now, enough's enough. It's got to stop. This world cannot go on like this for much longer. We cannot survive as a race, keep taking chunks out of each other and fighting each other. Somebody somewhere has got to turn around and say, enough is enough.
There isn't enough leadership. I think this is one of the biggest problems that we in this day and age are struggling through. There isn't enough leadership. There aren't enough statesmen out there. We don't know who to look forward to. We don't know what we need. And it's a very bleak time. And I think we will pay for it sooner or later. Because the way everything is going, the way our societies are being, our kids are being, one of the saddest things that I'm seeing right now, our kids are being babysat by television or this fake media. They don't understand news. They don't read very much. It's a sad time. I don't want to be bleak because it's there are things that we can recover from. But I don't have a lot of hope. I would love to have more hope once I see a spark somewhere, but I'm not seeing it. I don't know, Carl. Are you? What kind of hopes do you have?
I think it's because you've been drinking gin. often is the way where hope disappears. The more gin that gets drunk, the less hope is around. Often, I'm actually very hopeful. I'm really very hopeful.
Oh, you are? Okay, good.
I absolutely am. And I realised the other day I was thinking, my own suggestion, or I mean, I don't think you can make a suggestion unless you're prepared to do it yourself. So what I'm going to do myself in the face of a diminishing trust in it being sorted out for us and on our behalf, whichever country you're looking at, whether it be Portugal, UK, or America, or anywhere. I would say, and actually, funny enough, the reason I moved to Portugal in the first place was to become more not only self-reliant and self-sufficient, but more interdependent and living more locally. And I call it social capitalism. Growing social capital rather than financial capital, and I think that's really important. And I think that what's happening in these last few weeks, or what's happened in the last few months, is I've forgotten about that, and in the last few weeks I've really remembered it. And I came up with this sort of 3-part slogan, which is all the rage, isn't it? With governments, this is what Boris does, isn't it? Or what Dominic Cummings tells him to say. It's like track, trace, and get off your face, or whatever the 3-part slogan is. But for me, it's like prepare, care, and share. Okay. And just as a sort of my own aid memoir, I think it's probably quite important now to prepare for the worst, as in the old normal, what we knew as the old systems and structures. They're being destroyed anyway. So I think, and they weren't in good health before the pandemic. Let's be honest. The way that it was a fabric of, like those old Western sets where just the facade of a building and behind it was just all, unfinished. The economy before the pandemic was like that. It was just all front. It was about to collapse, and the pandemic has just kind of shifted the focus, I think, about that. And I think we should prepare for the collapse of that as we know it. And I don't mean that in a doom. It does sound very devastating and doomy to say that. I just think it was only right to and if you look at some of the most enlightened economists, they have been saying the same thing for ages. It can't go on. It's a bubble that's being blown up, and it will burst at some point. And we know that if we look back at history. I mean, someone's saying that tonight, aren't they? Sapphira is saying history has a tendency to repeat the same mistakes from the past. Okay, the history that's repeating itself is the inflation of our Ponzi scheme economy across the neoliberal capitalist world, and it will collapse. So why don't we accept that, know that that's going to happen, but prepare for it, because we have all the ingenuity and compassion and empathy and all the things that Gary was talking about before, or pointing to get through it together and manage the worst effects of it. It will be difficult. It's already difficult, isn't it? We now know it is difficult. You look at the situation for Henry and Nina. That's all of this pain is felt very personally, isn't it? You're not going to see it if the news, just like politics, is numbers. You don't get a sense of the personal suffering. I now more and more get a sense of the personal suffering, and we need to be aware of that and say, okay, we can't keep pretending this isn't going to happen. It's already happening. Let's prepare. And then I think that the thing is about, like Gary's saying, caring for each other, shielding people, being considerate, wearing a mask where that's seen as a useful thing to do. Don't take unnecessary risks or be reckless, be considerate, and then share. The way forward, I think, is to share not just wealth. I mean, Gary, again, if everyone gave €1, that kind of thinking, sharing, looking after people less fortunate, it's a kind of form of taxation. But make that local, make that much more personal, not massive amounts of money where it's all being spent on weapons and there's no accountability, and it's being spent on politicians, and it's being spent on useless things that are just keeping the machine going. Let's share the resources, not just money. Let's share food, knowledge, shelter. The problem we've got is the resources are all there. They're just not in the right place for enough people, and we have an opportunity to do that now. I think because
I buy your optimism. I'm all for the optimism. I think it's amazing to be that way. I think switch to vodka. I'm drinking scented vodka.
Go on, optimism, Frank. Your stride was broken.
No, the optimism bit for me has been the fact that we are in a place where we get decent amount of nourishment. I think that the food, the drink, everything else is amazing where we are. It's just that when we look around, the problem is that you know when you live in this country and you're like here, and I'm not saying that Portugal is that big of a heaven. Nowhere else is this kind of heaven. This is a heaven that we have found. However, when you look outside and you look at what's happening in other countries, you kind of feel for them. You kind of feel for the situation that you're in. And the only thing that we can give back is exactly what you said, Carl, is the community-based system of being able to just work with each other, being able to give each other, being able to connect with each other. I think one of the things that human beings thrive most with is the connection. We came over here, and if we did not have this connection, if we did not have each other to be able to talk to be able to release this energy, I think it would be very, very difficult for us. I think it would be very, especially people like you and I. I think with the kind of energy that we've got, and we want to give it to other people. I think it will be very difficult to just keep it in house, and especially in a two-bedroom apartment in Lisboa, it would be very difficult. So I'm really blessed. I really get what you're saying as far as positivity is concerned. Sometimes it's just not that easy, and we have to work with that as well.
Yeah, and that's another. I guess we've been spoilt for a few decades now, haven't we? And we probably do have to embrace the fact that it isn't going to be easy. It
It's
is.
not
It's going to be quite. It's going to be quite hard work, and we will look back on the days when it was easy and think we really took it for granted. We really took it for granted, the momentum of that gravy train, and being among the most privileged people in the world. And that's going to change a little bit, I think, and it's going to be a bit more uncomfortable, but probably for a good reason, and with some good outcomes. We've talked everybody into submission here. Boa noite para Abrazos até depois. So, Safiro, great to meet you tonight. Thanks for joining us. This connect, absolutely awesome. Thanks. Cheers to you, Eric. I know you've got to go. And Eugene, lightening the mood. We should have a moobs night in bikini tops. Well, there's a novel suggestion.
There you go.
Are you rocking those?
Look at Garvo. He's already offering it.
I do have that. I mean, this was another thing, as well as weeping in older age. The man boobs get bigger as well. It's for me, and it is the subject of some mirth and merriment among my older children who very happily make fun of my moobs. You too, Gary?
Oh God, yes, big time.
Is it eating too much chicken? I don't know. What does it?
What is it?
Like being fat, basically.
Being fat. Okay, that nails it. Okay, I think it's a lot to do with hormones in meat, personally. Or that's
let's not blame everything on meat there, Carl. Come on, man, give us a break.
And soy. If you eat too much tofu, that's
soy. It's tofu. Blame it on tofu. Tofu gives man boobs. Don't eat tofu, kids.
Don't eat tofu. It's bad for you. But going back to the world solutions, government just need to let people adapt. In Australia, huge changes in logistics strategies have brought new issues and innovations. Local food trucks coordinated in safe ways to keep containment if a breakout happens. Change has brought lots of opportunities. Always does, right? Thanks for that, Andrew.
Always does.
Yeah, we haven't talked much about vegans and tofu tonight, have we? Eugene is all for harvesting the vegans, whatever that means. What's searching for TP? What is TP? Is that the pachine?
Toilet paper.
Oh, toilet paper, of course. So toilet paper, canned goods, and socks. Isn't that a beautiful, positive vision of the future made of toilet paper?
I don't know if you don't have enough food to eat, then why are you so concerned about wiping your arse? I don't understand.
Yes, gems of wisdom all the way here tonight. And this, you're right, Victoria. One of the few ladies to expose herself tonight in the man cave. That's not what I meant to say, but you know what I mean. This is off the rails now. I think it's a kind of little sign to us to maybe sign off. Eat meat, no tofu. Eric's hanging on in there.
Yes, Eric.
I adopt the rain-veiled approach to getting older. Does anyone know what that is among you two
I
other
don't
gentlemen?
know what that is.
I fear what that might mean, don't you? When
What
Eugene is,
that means, I don't know. Does this have something to do with humans eating other humans?
which is obviously what he's going to accuse you of. As well.
Well,
Anyway,
all this talk about veganism, right? I mean, is it curtains for beef, or is it time to put pork to the sword?
very good, very good.
Oh,
2 hours.
that was a gifted one.
It was there for the taking.
That was like getting a hot beef injection in the forehead. I like that.
Absolutely. Carl, right, my wrap-up comments, right, just
Yeah,
to go from where we were.
Yeah, we'll sign off now. Fantastic. Go on.
Remember, months ago, we talked about this sort of program where we needed this sort of platform for people to speak the mind, and this sort of show that we have now allows people to do that. And it seemed a fanciful idea, really, that was fraught with danger and immense possibility. But you've done it. We've had people on here with such polar views, and the American election is obviously a highlight to this. But they've been able to be civil with each other, and also they've been able to make friendships, because on both sides of the political divide, these people aren't hating each other. They aren't throwing insults. Bit of friendly banter, but that's being a bloke.
Yeah.
So it shows it can be done. We can come together no matter what our differences are.
Yeah.
And this program actually has highlighted that. So well done to you, sir, because you made it happen.
There you go, Carol.
Yes. Okay.
Hello.
The first one wasn't very convincing, Carol.
What the? You prefer the horn, don't you? I think.
No,
Okay.
I think that was a valid point, don't you, Frank? This place, it's proven its worth.
It has, absolutely, and it's a place for us to get together. And the first little while we cry our woes with what we're drinking. Look at what we're doing. We're talking about what we're drinking, what we're doing. This is the luxury at its best, and I'm quite sure Eugene appreciates it too, because he keeps on calling me the Canadian dude, and it's amazing, Eugene. Thank you.
Yes, and a Bonoit, a great show from that Facebook user. I don't know if that's Charles or Chris or whoever that is now. But thank you, Gary, for saying that. I do appreciate it.
No, I mean it heartfelt. I mean that absolutely sincere. We do.
Didn't go unnoticed, and it is. I do hope it is a prototype for other ways of people relating to each other. A little bit of a remedy to the social media's own virus of polarity, and we're bigger than that, aren't we? Carl, congrats, Carl. Can't wait for next Friday. We'll see you then, Eric, and we'll talk to you in the meantime, perhaps. John Pabst, hello to you, John. I haven't seen you for a while. Oh my God, where are the bats in this cave? And we've got to give the last word, I think, to Victoria, who didn't know she had slipped into the man cave. And you never know when you're going to slip into a man cave, but you can always say it was a moment of madness and that you're going to retire and spend more time with your family.
Oh, Victoria, let it go. You enjoyed it.
That was that. That was Andrew. I think that's what she means. Andrew Scarborough saying, "Benoit, great show." Cheers, Andrew. Much appreciated. Thanks for your comments, and also, elsewhere on social media today. Appreciate it, gentlemen. Well played. Nearly 3 hours of easygoing chat and lovely comments from our friends all over the world. That's the other thing, Gary, isn't it? Is that people are tuning in for this from all over the world. It's quite extraordinary.
Lovely.
And here's the final note for your information. Still 1970. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.
Guys.
Okay, guys, enjoy your weekend.